My mom told me, I wish I'd aborted you, after I refused to take the blame for what my golden sister did. My sister kept blaming me, but I stood my ground. Now her life collapsed. Hey, Reddit. Growing up, my younger sister was always my mom's favorite, and I got used to it. But one night changed everything. It started with a simple phone call and ended with my whole family seeing sides of each other we didn't expect. Here's what happened. So this whole thing started years ago when I was 22. I'm in my 30s now, but it still sticks with me like it just happened. My sister was 18 at the time, and we were both still living in the same town. We weren't super close, but I always thought we were all right. I mean, we were siblings, we argued here and there, but I didn't think she hated me or anything. Looking back, I was really naive about how she saw me. My parents are decent people, but very different in how they see things. My dad is a straight shooter. He's practical, logical, and he's worked his butt off his whole life. He owns a few businesses and is the kind of guy who believes in fairness and earning your place. My mom, on the other hand, is more emotional. She's protective, sometimes overly so, and she always favored my sister. Like, it was obvious to everyone. Family members joked about it, but my mom never denied it. She'd just smile and say, "She's my baby." Growing up, I noticed the difference, but I tried to ignore it. I was the older kid, so I was expected to be more responsible. I had to babysit, run errands, handle things around the house, and basically play the good son. My sister got away with everything. She'd lie, break stuff, talk back, and my mom would just shrug it off or defend her. Dad would call her out, but he was always the minority vote. Honestly, I thought it was just a normal family dynamic, even though deep down I knew it wasn't fair. I remember a time when we were about 10 and 6. She broke my mom's favorite vase while running around the house, and without even asking, my mom blamed me. I swore it wasn't me, but she didn't care. I got grounded for a week, and my sister sat there watching cartoons like nothing happened. Stuff like that happened so many times it just became normal. By the time I was 22, I had moved into my own apartment, working and going to school. My sister was finishing high school, thinking she ruled the world. She was popular, had a ton of friends, and my mom practically worshipped her. Dad was proud of me because I was paying my own bills. But that didn't seem to matter to Mom. Anyway, that's the stage when my parents decided to go on a trip. They loved skiing and booked a week away. They asked me to look in on the house just to keep an eye on things and be a backup adult, but said my sister would be staying there. They told her straight up, no gatherings, no nonsense, keep the place in one piece. And they reminded her more than once because she had a history of pushing boundaries. She nodded and said, okay. I figured she'd do her thing, watch TV, maybe have a couple friends over. I didn't think much about it. The day after my parents left, my phone buzzed. It was my sister. Hey, she said, all sweetness. So, I'm having some people over tonight. It's going to be really fun. I need you to do me a favor. I already knew where this was going. What kind of favor? Nothing big, she said quickly. Just pick something up for me on your way home. You can come by too, meet some people, maybe even someone cute. It'll be fun. I actually laughed. Nope, not happening. You know what Mom and Dad said, and I don't want to get involved. Instant switch. Are you serious? You're ruining everything. I already told people. Everyone's expecting this. That's your problem, not mine, I said. You should have asked before inviting half the town. She snapped, voice getting sharp. God, you're so boring. You never help me with anything. You think you're better than everyone just because you're older. I'm not better. I just know when something's stupid, I shot back. You're about to get yourself in trouble, and you want me to be part of it? Not happening. She replied, you're so selfish. It's just one little thing. Why do you always make things harder for me? I said, because it's not my job to cover for you every time you want to ignore rules. End of story. Fine, she yelled. Forget it. You're useless. Cool, I said, and hung up before she could keep going. I thought that was it. I figured maybe she'd be mad for a day or two, and life would move on. I underestimated her. She went full steam ahead with her plans. That night, I was at my apartment, studying and watching TV. But on social media, I started seeing posts about some big get-together. People tagging her, talking about this crazy night. I just rolled my eyes. It was typical her, always pushing limits. Now, here's the thing about our town. It's not huge, and the cops get bored. Any loud noise or commotion gets attention fast. So guess what? Someone called it in. Cops showed up. I didn't hear about that until the next day, but apparently it wasn't pretty. People scattered, and she got caught. The next morning started like any other. I woke up late, made some food, checked my phone, and planned to do some laundry and boring chores. My sister wasn't even on my mind. I figured whatever she did the night before was over and done. Maybe a mess at the house, but nothing crazy. Then there was a loud knock. Not friendly. I looked through the peephole and saw two officers. My stomach dropped. They asked if I was me, came inside, and started asking about my parents' house. I told them my sister was staying there. They started in with questions like they already knew the answers. Where was I last night? Did I go by the house? Did I bring anything? I said no, I was at work, then home. They didn't look convinced. Then they told me my sister said I was the one who made the whole thing possible. I just stood there stunned. I hadn't even been near the place. I told her no when she asked me for help, and now she was blaming me? It hit harder because it was family. They said I had to come with them and I wasn't under arrest, but I had to come in. I asked if I could grab a jacket and my phone. They said yes. I kept thinking it was a mix-up, but when someone official is writing things down and staring at you like you're guilty, it feels different. I told them again I was at work, then home, but they just said we'd talk at the station. They put me in the back like I was some kind of problem. I was watching the buildings go by and thinking about how stupid everything was. I pictured my sister at the house with people and loud music and a big mess, and then her deciding I should take the blame because it was easier for her. I felt angry, but mostly I felt numb. That numb feeling where your chest is tight, but your head is just buzzing. At the station, they took my phone and asked the same questions over and over. Where was I? Who could prove it? Did I buy or move anything? I stayed calm, gave exact times, told them about work cameras and the ones at my apartment, and said my car never left. I even offered my banking app to show no purchases. They nodded but didn't look convinced. Then they said they'd called my parents. I hated that part. I knew my dad would listen, but my mom? She'd believe my sister first. When they said my parents were flying back early, I felt half relieved and half sick, knowing this was about to blow up bigger than I wanted. They asked me to give a longer statement, so I did. I included everything. Facts only. I asked again about the cameras. The officer finally took notes on that and said they'd request footage. I gave them my work's address, the name of my supervisor, and the name of the apartment manager. I even told them the exact space number where I parked the night before. Then I called my dad. He picked up on the second ring. I barely got the words out before he told me to slow down and tell him what happened, step by step. I did, and he listened. He didn't interrupt. He didn't accuse. He just said, "All right, we're coming. Don't say anything you're unsure of. Stick to facts." Then my mom got on the phone, and everything felt tense again. She didn't yell, but she kept saying, "Why would your sister say that if it wasn't true?" I told her I didn't know. I said maybe she panicked. She said, "This is such a mess," and then handed the phone back to my dad. They kept me overnight for questioning. I wasn't charged. By the time evening rolled around, the officers had more info. They'd looked up my workplace hours and matched video times to my exit. They hadn't gotten the apartment footage yet, but they said they'd asked. My bank records were easy. I signed a form and they checked. Nothing matched what my sister told them. It wasn't, "You're free to go yet," but at least the tone changed. They weren't talking to me like they'd already decided I was guilty. Morning came, and they let me rinse my face in a tiny sink. A guy came by with some papers and said things were moving. He didn't promise anything, but he wasn't cold about it either. He asked me if there was anything else they should know. I said yes. My dad keeps his liquor cabinet at home for guests, and I told them my sister could have taken from there instead of getting anything from me. I hated saying it because I knew it would make my dad feel betrayed. But if the truth hurt, it hurt. Eventually, they brought me to a room and told me my parents had arrived. When they walked in, my dad looked tired and focused. My mom looked like she hadn't slept at all. I said, "I'm sorry," even though I hadn't done anything wrong, because I hated that they had to fly back for this. My dad just hugged me. My mom stood a few feet away. She finally asked me, why would she say that? I said, because she didn't want to deal with the consequences. I could see my mom didn't want to hear that. My dad put a hand on her shoulder and then asked the officers to walk us through what happens next. They said they were waiting on more footage, and that they were also going to send someone over to our house to check the cabinet. My mom stiffened at that. My dad just nodded. He said, "Do what you need to do." After that, they let me leave but told me not to go anywhere far. My dad drove me back to my apartment while my mom rode along. Mostly quiet. My dad kept asking little questions. What exactly did she say? Did she mention anyone else? Did she admit she took anything? I told him everything I knew. She called me, wanted me to help her. I refused. Then she flipped and tried to put me under the bus. When we got to my place, my dad told me to grab any receipts or anything that might help. My mom just kept shaking her head. She wasn't crying, but her face was tight. She kept saying things like, She wouldn't lie like that. And this is just too much. I didn't bother arguing with her because I knew she wasn't going to believe me until it was shoved in her face. Later that day, Dad went straight to the house with the officers. I didn't go. I didn't want to see my sister. I stayed home, watched my phone light up with notifications and messages from cousins and aunts asking what happened. I didn't reply. I didn't know what to say. I didn't want gossip. I just wanted things fixed. When my dad came back, he looked exhausted. He had a small bag and said, "Evidence." They'd checked his cabinet. Stuff was missing and half empty. My mom kept saying, she panicked, she's scared, she didn't mean it. More worried about her future than the fact she almost ruined mine. Over the next few days, Dad showed the officers everything. Photos of the cabinet, my work hours, security footage of me going straight home, even video of my car parked all night. My bank records were clean. Meanwhile, my sister kept changing her story. First I drove over, then she claimed she came to my place. But nothing matched. No car scene, no proof. Every lie just made her look worse. When it was finally clear to everyone that she was lying, my dad didn't say much. My mom finally spoke up, saying things like, "She's just scared. She didn't mean it." But you could tell even she wasn't sure anymore. And me? I was just tired. I wasn't even angry the same way I was before. It's like when you get so disappointed you can't even yell, you just want it to stop. That night, I heard a knock on my apartment door. It was my mom. For a second, I actually thought she might be there to say sorry. I let her in, and she didn't even sit down before starting. "You need to fix this," she said, voice sharp. "Fix what?" I asked. "This thing with your sister. Just tell the police you made a mistake. Say you gave it to her. They'll let it go easier if you admit it. She's just a kid. She can't have this on her record." I froze. "You're kidding, right? I didn't do anything. Why would I lie and ruin my own name for her?" She said, "She's 18. She has her whole future ahead of her. You're older, you'll recover. You have a job, your life is already started. This could destroy her." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "So you'd rather destroy me? Your son? For her? She's my baby," she snapped, almost like it explained everything. "You've always been strong. You can handle this." I felt my chest tighten. "You're asking me to lie to the police? Do you even hear yourself? She screwed up, Mom. She lied about me and nearly got me arrested. She panicked. She didn't mean it." My mom's voice was rising now. "You don't understand what it's like for her. She's been under so much pressure." "Under pressure?" I nearly laughed. "She had a party and threw me under the bus because it was easier. And you're still covering for her. Or do you even care what that does to me?" "You're being selfish," she shot back. "You've always been so cold with her. You think you're perfect, but you're not." I just stared at her. "Selfish?" She lied. She almost wrecked my future. And you're standing here acting like I should take the hit for her. You've always taken her side. Always. "That's not true," she snapped. "You're just bitter because she's younger and gets more attention." I couldn't even hold back then. "Attention? You treat her like she can do no wrong. No matter what she does, you cover for her. Even now, when she's hurting the people who care about her. She's your favorite and you can't even admit it." My mom's face went red. Her voice cracked when she shouted, "I wish I'd aborted you." It hit me like a punch to the chest. I didn't even answer. She grabbed her purse and slammed the door so hard the neighbor opened theirs to look. I stood there, then picked up my phone and called my dad. Told him everything word for word. He didn't even sound surprised. Just angry. "I'll handle it," he said. And later, I found out they had one of the biggest fights of their marriage. My dad told her straight up, if she kept defending my sister's lies and couldn't see what was happening, he'd leave. That was the first time I realized he saw everything for what it was. The next day, he called me and said, "We're doing counseling. It's either that or this family's done." When we went, it was rough. My sister sat there acting like she didn't care. My mom sat stiff. My dad did most of the talking at first. Then it was my turn, and I laid it all out. I talked about the phone call, the accusations, the arrest, but also the years of favoritism, all the little things I had ignored growing up. I even had a list I'd written down. Times she lied. Times my mom believed her no matter what. Times I got punished for nothing. The counselor kept quiet while I talked. Mom tried to jump in every few minutes with, "She was just stressed." Or, "You know she didn't mean it that way." Like excuses mattered more than the truth. My sister finally tried to say, "That's not true." But each time I reminded her of the details. My mom tried to defend her, but Dad shut it down. That was the first time my sister actually stayed quiet. Counseling was tense. We sat like strangers at first, but that room gave me permission to finally speak. My mom tried to interrupt once, but the counselor stopped her and told her to let me talk. My dad was steady, watching and nodding as if to say, "You see?" My sister mostly stayed quiet, sometimes looking angry or embarrassed, but she never apologized. Around this time, the legal stuff was moving too. My dad hired a lawyer to push for a record correction and ensure I wasn't named as a suspect. The report still had my name in it. My dad wanted everything cleared. He was serious about making sure nothing stuck. He even told me to keep records of everything. Texts, calls, dates. He said, if she's willing to lie once, she might try again. That hit me hard, but he was right. Meanwhile, my sister's situation was not looking good. There were charges. Minor stuff compared to what could have happened, but still serious. She had been caught lying to the police, resisting when they came to the house, and she basically threw her own brother under the bus. My mom begged my dad to make it go away, but even she could see it was too late for that. My dad told her straight up, this isn't about saving her. This is about teaching her. The court stuff dragged on. I stayed out of it except when I had to provide proof. The officers actually apologized to me quietly. I appreciated the apology, though. When it was time for court, I didn't even sit with them. I stayed back. Watching my mom fuss over my sister like she was the victim was painful, but not surprising. My dad was calm, but you could tell he was disappointed. The lawyer did what lawyers do. My sister didn't even look at me once. She pled guilty to the smaller stuff because the evidence was stacked. The lawyer's whole thing was to make it seem like she was young and panicked, that she made a dumb choice but wasn't malicious. The judge issued city fines connected to the number of guests, probation for a couple years, and therapy. That therapy part was Dad's favorite. He leaned over to me after and said, "At least she'll have to listen to someone besides your mother now." I wish I could say this was the point she apologized. Nope. Not once did she say sorry. If anything, she looked mad, like we were all against her. It was surreal. Here's this girl who caused all of this, nearly wrecked her own brother's reputation, cost my parents thousands, and she's sitting there like she's the victim. When it was over, I went back to my life. My mom and I barely talked for a while. She knew I was still hurt about what she said at my apartment. She'd text sometimes, "How are you?" But it felt hollow. I answered politely but kept it short. My sister stayed in her bubble. She did her probation, went to therapy because she had to, and pretended everything was fine. We'd see each other at family dinners sometimes, but she'd barely look my way. I kept my head down and focused on my stuff. A couple years later, she went off to college. My dad and I were getting along better than ever. He taught me things about his businesses and slowly trusted me with small tasks. My mom, well, she still tried to make excuses for my sister now and then, but even she was quieter about it. I think deep down she knew she messed up too. Then one day, my sister just left. She graduated college and moved to California. Barely said goodbye. Didn't call. My mom cried about it. My dad just shrugged and said, she made her choice. I didn't care. Honestly, I felt relief. I didn't want the stress anymore. Meanwhile, I'm running one of my dad's smaller businesses by now. I've got a decent apartment, a car that's mine, bills are paid on time. I'm proud of myself because I worked for it. My dad always said he wanted me to earn my own stuff, even though he had money. It makes sense now because I know how hard it was for him to build what he built. My sister was living in California, as I mentioned. New job, new people, whole different world. She barely called my mom. She never called me. She never called my dad either, and I think that's what really broke something in him. He'd given her so much, even paid for school, and helped her land that job. He didn't even brag about it. He just wanted her to be okay. But she never said thank you. She just kind of ghosted all of us. Somewhere in there, I wrote about everything on Reddit. I didn't use names or details that could identify us, but I wanted to get it off my chest and hear what other people thought. Then one day she found my post. I don't know how. Someone must have sent it to her, or maybe she spends too much time on Reddit. Whatever the reason, she saw it. She called my mom first, screaming. My phone lit up like a Christmas tree with texts from my mom. Why did you write about her? Take it down. You're making us look bad. I was at work, just sitting there staring at my phone like, really? After all this time, this is what makes her call home? Then my sister called me. I didn't even recognize her number at first. I answered and she went straight to yelling, "No hello, nothing." It was like listening to a siren. I hung up. She texted me paragraphs after that, threatening, saying she'd sue, saying I ruined her image. I didn't answer. Then she called again, and this time I told her, "If you scream, I'm hanging up again." And guess what? She screamed. So I blocked her. But she wasn't done. She called my parents again, trying to get them to force me to delete it. My dad told her flat out, It's his story. We're not getting involved. My mom, of course, was upset, saying it made her look like a bad mom. I told her I didn't lie about anything. That shut her up for a bit. I finally talked to my sister one more time because she texted from another number. I answered because I was tired of the games. She started yelling about how I always had it easier, how she was never the golden child, and how I was exaggerating. I laughed. I told her I didn't care what she called it. She lied. I got dragged through hell for it, and she never even said sorry. She hated that I laughed. Then she said what my mom once said to me. I wish mom never had you. I just said, well, cool. Bye. And hung up. That was when my dad decided to make things clear. He told her she was officially out of the will. He told her she'd get a small settlement and nothing else. She called him crying, said it wasn't fair. My dad told her what wasn't fair was her framing her brother and treating the family like trash. She blocked all of us after that. Months went by. We all kind of settled into life without her. My mom still missed her, but even she had to admit my sister caused her own problems. My dad and I got closer. He started teaching me bigger things. It was like finally being seen. Then, early this year, my sister showed up again. No call, no warning. She just showed up at my parents' door with some guy and a little plastic test. She said she was pregnant, 2 months along. My mom nearly cried from joy, but my dad wasn't buying it. He even suggested they take another test just to be sure. She actually did it, and it was positive. She said she wanted to make things right, wanted her kid to know their grandparents. My mom wanted to believe her so badly. My dad didn't. He said, you can stay for a bit, but if you want a place in this family, you have to work for it. He laid it out. Therapy again, group talks, and she had to apologize to me. At first, she played nice. She smiled, she laughed, she acted like she was back in the family. But when it came time to talk to me, the act cracked. She asked me to meet her and the guy at a restaurant. I went, mostly because I wanted to see if she'd actually say sorry. We sat down, and right away I could tell it wasn't going to be real. She started mumbling. When her boyfriend told her to speak up, she elbowed him in the stomach. He excused himself. Then she leaned back in her chair and said, I guess I'm sorry, but really this never would have happened if you just helped me that night. You always think you're better than me. I couldn't believe it. She was blaming me again. I said, you still don't get it. You lied, you dragged me through hell, and you still want to make it my fault? She shrugged like she didn't care and said, whatever. You're so dramatic. You got over it, didn't you? I sat there quiet for a second because I wanted to see if she'd realize how stupid that sounded. She didn't. I told her she still didn't get it. I told her I was done. I paid my part of the bill and walked out. My parents found out because the restaurant has cameras and audio, and my dad knows the owner. They got the video that same day. My mom's first reaction wasn't anger. It was, she's pregnant. She's emotional. Still trying to soften the blow instead of admitting she was wrong. They played it for her. And when she heard herself say that, she went nuts. She yelled, stormed out, packed her things, and left. Drove straight back to California. I thought she'd stay gone for good. But then the calls started again to my parents. My mom especially. She sent texts, some polite, some angry, some just long rants. She sent ultrasound pictures, updates, even little digs like, you'll never see your grandkid if you keep letting him talk about me. My dad stayed firm. He told her straight, we'll support the child if you allow it, but don't think for a second that this erases what you did. And yet first my mom was torn. She's always been softer with my sister, and a grandchild was something she's wanted for years. She wanted to just forgive and move on. But even she couldn't ignore the video from that restaurant, hearing my sister basically admit she still blamed me. Meanwhile, I just stayed out of it. I was tired of the drama. My days were long, but I liked it. I was learning things about management, payroll, dealing with people, stuff I never thought I'd care about. It felt good to be trusted. And yeah, part of me enjoyed knowing that after everything, Dad trusted me with his work and basically cut my sister out. It wasn't about revenge. It was just finally being seen for what I did, not what I didn't do. My sister tried calling me once more, from another number. I answered because I didn't recognize it. She started off sweet, but within a minute she was saying stuff like, you turned everyone against me. I didn't argue, I just said, you did that yourself. You did. And then she started crying, saying she was alone, her boyfriend dumped her, and she didn't know what to do. For a second, I almost felt bad. Then she said, if you had just covered for me back then, none of this would have happened. That snapped me right out of it. I said, you're still blaming me? Grow up. Then I blocked the number. A couple weeks later, she sent a long message to my parents. She wanted money. She said the baby was coming. She needed help. My dad responded with his list. He said it wasn't negotiable. She read it and basically exploded through text, saying we were all horrible, saying dad was controlling, saying I ruined her life. The thing is, even my mom didn't rush to defend her this time. She was sad, but she kept saying, "You need to change if you want help." That shocked me because my mom had always been her biggest supporter. I think she finally got tired too. So where we stand now is this. She's still pregnant. Last I heard, maybe 6 or 7 months by now. She's sending my mom updates, but they're short and to the point. No calls, no small talk. Dad kept following through on those plans, even talking about a fund like he'd mentioned before. I think he's hoping that when the baby's older, we'll be able to have some kind of relationship that's not poisoned by all this stuff. For me, life kept going. I stopped waiting for her to change. I stopped hoping for an apology. I realized some people just don't have it in them to admit they're wrong, especially when they've been told they're perfect their whole lives. My dad told me once, "We tried to raise you both right, but we made mistakes. She's going to have to learn the hard way." My mom told me recently she wants to try therapy again, just for herself this time. She said she finally sees how much damage favoritism did. She even said she's sorry for all those times she didn't believe me, for coming to my apartment that night and asking me to take the blame. She cried when she said it. I didn't know what to say, so I just said, "Thanks." It was weird, but it meant something. It's strange. My sister nearly wrecked our family years ago. She's still causing ripples. But somehow, through all of it, I got closer to my dad. My mom is starting to understand. And I'm actually proud of where I am. Our family is smaller now. There's a space where my sister used to be, but I'm learning to accept that. I know some people will say, "But she's family." And yeah, she is. But family doesn't give you the right to wreck someone else's life and then act like it's fine. Maybe one day she'll figure that out. Maybe she won't. Either way, it's not my job to fix her. When I think about the kids she's having, I just hope she treats them better than she treated me, better than she treated our parents. I hope the baby grows up happy and doesn't have to pick sides or live with constant drama. My dad's already talking about setting up a fund for them. He says, "The kid didn't do anything wrong." He's right. I'd like to meet my niece or nephew someday, but only if it's safe and healthy. People sometimes ask me if I'd take her back if she apologized. Honestly, I don't know. It would have to be real, not some fake half apology. She'd have to admit she was wrong, not just blame me like always. That day might never come, and that's fine. I'm done waiting for it. This whole mess taught me a lot. It taught me to keep records, to stand up for myself, and to not let guilt push me around. It taught me that parents can mess up too, but sometimes they can learn and try to fix things. And it taught me that being the responsible one sucks sometimes, but it can also pay off in the long run. Don't let someone else's bad choices define your life, even if it's family, even if you love them. Protect yourself. Speak up, because at the end of the day, you have to live with what happens, not them. So that's it. My sister's gone, I'm doing my thing, my parents are working on themselves, and maybe someday we'll all sit in a room and laugh about this. But if we don't, I'm okay with that. My soon-to-be ex-wife and I began dating when we were both 16, but knew each other since middle school. I would say that our relationship back then was strong. We were the type of kids that avoided any situation with too much conflict, so we did our best to be understanding of one another. There was nothing in our 8 years of dating that stuck out to me as potential affairs. We never had breaks, and we went to the same university. If she cheated during that time period, the only way I would know would be a confession. I'm not going to wait for one. We went on to work in the same company after graduation, but in separate fields. I knew what her schedule was, and she knew mine. We would even meet whenever we had spare time for lunch. We then got married in June 2008 and shortly after my mother passed away. It was in a car accident. I cut my honeymoon short to attend her funeral, and my soon-to-be ex-wife was supportive of me at the time. She would take care of everything while I grieved for my mother with my father. The house, the bills, therapy sessions, emotional support. She did everything a person could. That was who I saw as my wife. Whoever she is now, I have no idea. I struggled with depression and nearly lost my career. If it hadn't been for my father and her, I don't think I would have ever recovered. I came out of it with the knowledge that my loved ones would have wanted me to be better. So I worked 3 times harder to advance in my career. I wanted to be able to support a family that my father could spoil as a grandfather. My soon-to-be ex-wife, while also advancing in her career, seemed shocked at my drive. I recall her saying that she didn't think she could keep up with me and that she was worried I would leave her behind. Perhaps she developed an insecurity there. I was able to build enough capital to purchase a good house, and we began trying for a baby in 2012. It was during this period that she cheated on me. There was no indication that she was cheating on me. No drop in sex drive. No hiding text messages on her phone. Not even a single mention of any new friends. I had no clues whatsoever. As far as I knew at the time, our efforts were paying off. So once my twins were born, I had everything I dreamed of. A loving wife, children to adore, and my father's chance to spoil them. He was so happy, loved them with all his heart. He passed away only 2 years ago, practically thanking me with tears for being his son. I don't even want to know what would have happened had he been here to witness all this. As time went on, there would be cracks showing my soon-to-be ex-wife's narrative in every argument. Since then, she would call the twins. My twins accused me of flirting with coworkers or grill me on what kind of women I preferred, even though she already knew what seemed to be small issues to me in hindsight, were red flags that pointed to her having had an affair. So now quarantine hit, and we're both, thankfully enough, able to work from home, albeit with a hit to our salaries. My soon-to-be ex-wife had mentioned that she had taken an ancestry test in the past, and I was hopeful that I could find distant relatives to connect with. I wanted to map out a complete family tree to show off to the twins, and even planned a scavenger hunt around it. Needless to say, when I pitched the idea to my soon-to-be ex-wife, she panicked, told me that was the stupidest idea she had ever heard, and that I already had the family I wanted. What if the relatives I found were dangerous, or even criminals? She was grasping at straws to dissuade me from taking that test. I could feel this drop in my gut. That wouldn't go away. Why would she be so against my finding family members, especially now that I have none left breathing? So I secretly had my twins, and I take the test and took them for treats afterwards to buy their silence. Waiting for the results was hell on earth. My soon-to-be ex-wife seemed to catch my unease and tried to distract me with sex, meals, and date nights. I also had the stress of making sure my twins wouldn't mention the test to her, so I bought them a Nintendo Switch to preoccupy them. They had been begging for one, so I was hoping that would be enough. Once the results came in last week, I saw I wasn't even considered a close match to them. The closest I found to their biological parents was my soon-to-be ex-wife, and some name I didn't recognize. I nearly vomited right then and there. I had to get out of there, so I waited until my soon-to-be ex-wife left on a run. I packed up, told my twins I was going on a work trip, and called a work colleague to help me find a place to stay. He was kind enough to let me stay with him until I was back on my feet. I took leave from work and spent nearly 2 days just crying and cursing my soon-to-be ex-wife. She would call and text nearly non-stop until I told her that I knew about the twins and muted her. Then I got angry. I had to find the home and make him understand what he did to my family. He was extremely prevalent on social media, so I knew his face now, and I recognized a park outside his apartment window in a specific post. From what I could tell, he was single and never was married. I then waited in that park the next day and was lucky enough to catch him while he was on a jog. He looked so much like me, just with a longer face and thinner hair. I called his name and asked him if he knew my soon-to-be ex-wife. He seemed confused at first when I showed him a picture. He actually recognized her and told me he had met her during a work conference 8 years ago. I asked him if he slept with her then, and he actually told me right then and there that they did. He seemed to understand where this was headed and asked me who I was not going to lie. There were numerous instances where I wanted to punch his lights out, but I had to keep my cool. I couldn't afford to get any spots on my record, and an assault charge would have put me out of a job. We sat down on a park bench and swapped stories. When he found out that the twins were likely his, he was shell-shocked. He got on his knees and begged me to give him a chance to get to know them. To be a father, he said. I told someone here that I had never seen a man as distraught as him until I looked in the mirror, after the confrontation. At the moment, I have no reason to distrust him. He's been more open than she has been. Nevertheless, I won't allow him to meet the twins without a professional to mediate. I had to call him to inform him of that. I told him it was to protect the mental health of the twins, to which he agreed. Now, I'm just waiting for the legal side of things to work its course. I was told by the attorney I interviewed that I needed some documents that I had left back home. I'm not looking forward to that now for the top comments. I'm speechless, OP. Not only did she cheat on you, she cheated her kid's biological father of the chance to actually being their father. I don't know if people will say you should try to be in the kids' lives, but nobody will fault you for not wanting to. You're in an extremely sick situation, and your wife is an evil and vile person for what she did to you. All I can say is, I hope you the best. Stay strong, man. I will. This is just so unreal to me. Perhaps at the end of the road I'll come out of this with some backbone. I just hope I can make it there. You really need to tell her parents that you are divorcing her, and the reason why her mother may side with her, but I guarantee you her father will understand. They will still be on her side as she is their daughter, but you have too much history with them to not give them a reason. Also, get a true paternity test done to be sure and get an STD test done as well. Your daughters are too young to understand all this, so please think about that when you decide how to tell them. Their world is blowing up and they don't know why. Can you have someone else go get the documents? I would very highly suggest you avoid communicating with your setbacks in any capacity. You never know how she would react if you were to go over there. The situation could turn volatile real quick. In situations like that, usually don't end up well for the man. If cops get involved, if you have no choice but to go yourself, then you need to take a witness with you in case you're set back. CW tries to do something crazy, which is very likely. Her life as she knew it is crumbling around her too, and she'll probably try anything in her power to either save the relationship or save face with family and friends. Good luck, man. I will have to go with a witness. My STB/SW would most likely refuse to allow anyone else to get those documents and even call the police have pushed hard enough now for the first update. It's been nearly 2 weeks since I made my first post. I had hoped I could do more during that time frame, but life tends to mess with you. First things first. I had to go back to my home to pick up some documents as people advised. I had an officer escort me and also kept a voice recorder at the ready where I live. There is no need for both sides to consent to being recorded, so it was perfectly legal. I went back about 5 days ago after talking to my attorney and counseling from my therapist. When I got there, I couldn't see her car in the driveway, nor could I tell if she was still home. It brought me comfort seeing that I wouldn't have to interact with her yet. What made my blood boil, however, was opening my door and seeing the twins in the hallway crying when they saw me. The twins rushed to hug me. While that wasn't unusual, the urgency that they did it with made me worry about what could have happened. Perhaps this was me trying to distract myself from the pain I felt when I looked at them. But I zeroed in on why they were so upset at seeing me. They told me that mom just left and that she was mad at them, that she kept crying all the time and that she would scream at them whenever they asked about me. They thought I had run away and that I was never coming back. One of them literally pulled me to the kitchen and pointed at the floor, saying that mom shattered a glass there while shouting at them and that the shards hurt them while they were trying to inform me of all this. I could feel my heart splitting in two. Half of me wanted to flee from the scene with them and protect them, while the other was worried about how the setbacks W could twist this to make her a victim. There was no visible signs of abuse, but I'm worried about what it could escalate to. There was no doubt in my mind that she had been drinking heavily. She has had a history of alcoholism. Her family is big on drinking. I haven't seen her drink since we were engaged, and it's possible she relapsed. I only had a handful of minutes left to collect my documents, so I told the twins that I had to rush back to work and told them that I loved them. I contacted their mother right after and told her that I wanted the twins to stay with me a while. Her voice was extremely slurred, so I knew she was drunk already. At 3 in the afternoon, she basically began bawling and apologizing for everything she had done, that she was a horrible person without me, and that she made a terrible mistake for cheating on the perfect husband. I told her that until she could get a handle on her drinking, she had to let the twins be with me. It took a while, but I was able to convince her that the twins were better off being with me for now. So the next day, I went back to my old home with the friend who housed me. God knows how, but she made it back there yesterday and handed me the twins, and kept telling me how the twins missed me and to give her a date for when I was coming back home. I know she was betting on the twins to lure me back in. She is unaware I already found their father and began filing for a divorce. Now they're here with me, and the mom isn't aware of that. I had continued reading the responses to my older posts, and people pointed out that the agreeable nature of our meeting was strange and concerning. I was too blinded by the relief I felt at finding an agreeable person to notice. Now that I did, I looked into the National Sex Offender Registry and he wasn't there, thank God. I looked even deeper into his social media and looking for anything that stuck out and found comments from 2 years ago mentioning that he was engaged to someone, seeing no post of him with a woman or man in a romantic light. I can only assume that relationship fell apart. That was the end of my findings. I contacted him and told him that if he truly wanted to become a father, we needed complete transparency between each other. I told him that I knew nothing about his past and what kind of romantic relationships he is prone to build. I needed to trust that he would be good to the twins and that whatever future partner he may have will be the same. I offered to do the same if he wanted me to, but he refused. He would do it if it was what I needed. I know polygraph results aren't always accurate, but it was the only thing I could think of at the time. The most reasonable theory I have is that the reason for his engagement breaking down was the same reason he was so driven to take the role as father, perhaps a miscarriage or something. We'll take that test later this week. I assume I can pick what questions he had to answer, but if that's wrong, please let me know. Beyond that, my STD test came back clean. I'm okay. Seeing the twins all the time now hurts, Hearing them call me dad feels like a stab in the chest each time, and hugging them makes me feel like a criminal, but I'm dealing with it. I'll try to keep recording all our interactions so that the setbacks. You can't accuse me of anything, and I have plenty of recordings that she won't like getting out. Needless to say, I've also had a paternity test done, and it's official. I'm not their father. God, it fucking hurts. Now for the top comments. Dude, I am so sorry that you find yourself in this situation. But on one level, there's a story I read today about a man who divorced his wife after raising two girls, and the wife had the gall to tell him he was not the father of the youngest one to rub it in his face. While this is tragic and so hurtful, one day you will be able to find a relationship in which you can truly own your soon-to-be ex is a train wreck. But she must now live with her deceit. Please keep us apprised of your future happiness. I don't know what I would have done in that man's shoes. I'll try to keep you all aware of what's going on. When you came home and the kids were crying and alone, that was the time to get the police involved. That's child abuse, plain and simple. Opie, you are not their biological dad, but you've been their father. At least this little bit of truth is exposed to you. I'd be selective about using it with her. As it's a one-time use thing, I'd take some time to reflect before you decide what to do next, regardless of what you decide. She's the one that created this mess, not you. Get out of the situation and sue her for paternity fraud. It takes more than biology to be daddy. It hurts like hell when you find out. I know from firsthand experience you can still be the best dad to those kids if you want to. Just don't fall for any of the setbacks. BS and manipulation. Handle her like you would have. Venomous snake. Now for the second update. Also, I moved out of my friend's place and got a place to rent. It was difficult, but the owner was helpful by recommending me to a friend of his looking to rent out a place. I felt that it would be safer for them to have their own room, and I'm tired of sleeping on a couch. The polygraph was insightful. Dom was who he said he was, which was a relief. He had no knowledge of my setbacks, W's marital status, and genuinely wants to be in the twins' lives. His motivation wasn't as intense as I assumed. He just really wanted to be a dad. And none of his previous relationships panned out. I had heard from my setbacks W's sister that she was checked into a rehab center and began the process to recovery. At least it would make serving her papers a lot more simple. However, the main issue was the fact that the twins definitely overheard I'm not their father during their time with their mother. I knew they were acting strange since I took them with me. They clung to me far more intensely than normal, asking me worrying questions like if they were adopted or whether I was going to run away again. I had chalked it up to what they had gone through while they were with their mother, due to how difficult it was to get them to talk about it. They would just ask the question and run away once I answered, only to return and demand. I let them sit on my lap to watch me work or to play with them. I would try discussing what their feelings were like, only for them to shut down and then flee. At that point, I had set up an appointment for a therapist to see them. I guess at some point they couldn't handle it, and one of them came to me sobbing while I was asleep and just hugged me. Sherry, false name for convenience, was the one who clung to me the most during this period, which concerned me. Even before that point, she was the type who disliked physical contact with a passion. Words were flying out of her mouth, but they were too fast and out of order for me to understand. It took an hour before I even got her to calm down enough to be understandable, and even then it was up to me to make it make sense. But here's the gist of it. None of this are actual statements, and a lot of it is from my observation, assumptions, and piecing together broken statements. During my absence, their mother took to heavily drinking at night and would be inexplicably absent. She's the kind of drunk who talks loud, and that was the case when Sherry went down one night to watch her. Well, if I was correct in my assumption, this was around the time I texted her that I knew the twins weren't mine and she must have gone ballistic. Sherry told me that their mother was yelling that I should have been able to love them as if they were mine and not to run away. So me coming back, that must have made them think all of that wasn't true. My behavior during their time with me, however, must have made them concerned. They noticed the drop in my gestures of affection. They wanted more hugs, more laps, sitting, more piggyback rides, and so on. But I simply couldn't do it as much as I used to. I try, I really do. But I can't stop feeling like I shouldn't do those. I've talked to my therapist about it, and she's told me that's common for men struggling with paternity. Only time will tell what I can and can no longer do. My original plan of breaking it to them slowly with a professional at the ready is completely in the gutter. Now I'm playing cleanup. They have had their first in-person therapy session about 3 days ago, and 2 online sessions before that. So far, no mention of me not being the father has been brought up. We've mostly been focusing on what they had seen and how that made them feel. I can't go into much detail here. The post would go on for too long. So that's my situation right now. It's been a month since I first discovered everything, and I can't believe so much has happened in so little time. I've had divorce papers ready for a week now, and just need to decide whether I'll still be financially responsible for the twins, or whether that will be the biological parents. Should I decide not to be? I'll need to make a petition to take me off the birth certificate, which then automatically means I will have no grounds to fight for custody. I won't deny that I want a family with my blood, and I want to be able to fully support them without having to pay child support to my setbacks. W. In the end, I'm damned if I do and damned if I don't. I'll have to sacrifice so much for either option, and there's no clear right thing to do. I must either sacrifice a chance to have children of my own, or sacrifice the twins that I've raised and loved for 8 years. Most of you must be baffled by this, but it's actually suffocating for me. Each passing second is like a noose that gets tighter and tighter. Now for the top comments. Some people here seem to be pretty naive. You're right to not want to pay child support. Trust me. Most women are not looking to get hitched and start a family with a man who is paying child support for 2 kids, let alone kids that aren't his. Oh, by the way, paying alimony to an ex-wife who defrauded him about the paternity of those kids. Do whatever you need to do to get that woman completely off your back and out of your life. Your desire to have biological children is completely legitimate. Do what you need to do to facilitate that goal becoming reality, Opie. There's no way in hell your STB-RDW will ever co-parent with you. If you believe there is a way for you to get any form of custody here, you're being delusional. You're already vetting the bio-dad to be able to step in the role of dad. Once that happens, your setback W will have to split time with this guy. You think she won't try to make your life a living hell for that, regardless of it being right or wrong? The good thing is how well you're working with the bio-dad, as he seems like he takes your concerns seriously. Ally with him, as he will need your support throughout this. Perhaps your lawyer can represent him. This will be very important later. We all get it for you. Leaving the twins will hurt like hell. But again, think with your brain, not your heart. You are way beyond having a life bearing any resemblance of what you had 6 months ago. No matter what, your daughters have a shaky foundation as it is. Try and legally stay custody. And the courts could hook you with ridiculous child support and alimony payments that go to your wife. Despite this being her fault, she will resent you for these events and take your money hand over fist while trashing you to the twins. Smart play is to sever all legal and accountable ties as possible. Help Biodad establish his place in the twins' life. That way you move on with your life, yet still being able to know how the twins are doing when their mother trash talks you to them. You have someone who will correct the story and sing your praises. Good luck, OP. Now for the final update. Before I begin, I want to thank everyone for all the support and advice you've all given me. You've all saved my life in more ways than one. I apologize for not updating until now. I was advised by my therapist to avoid being influenced by too many other perspectives and opinions in order to faithfully discuss my own feelings and opinions with him. And so I did. I informed my therapist about making one final post, and he told me that while he advised against it, he couldn't decide that for me. So this may be my final post, at least until everything is truly said and done. My setbacks W had left the rehab center earlier than her caretakers advised. About 8 days after my last post, I had already had divorce papers ready for her to sign and had her served while her sister and she were at my old home. She called me and tried to plead with me not to go through with it, that this would tear the family apart. I couldn't stand it. I wish I could say I was calm and methodical in my response, but that would be a lie. I was vitriolic, resentful. I told her that the family was torn before it began, that she was a disgusting, slimy creature that couldn't even love her own kids. Right. That she was the lowest life forms I had the displeasure of ever knowing. I said a lot more than that. Those were the nicest things I mentioned. I could feel the shock she felt at all the hateful things I had said. I was lucky that I wasn't at my apartment when she called me. The twins were spared from seeing me lose control like that. Regardless the setbacks. I got the message that I was serious about divorce and pulled 80. Now she had sent me threatening messages, saying she'll take every penny I have. I had been filing every conversation and message I could get before blocking her, informing her that I would only contact her through my attorney. She hadn't mentioned or asked about the twins up to the day I blocked her, January 16th. And I have noted that the deadline is coming up, and she still hasn't responded in any legal capacity. The twins have been doing much better. They have been recovering from all the shock and upheavals that has been thrown their way since this all began. It's clear that they haven't really processed that another man is their biological father, and their therapist has discussed with me that a lot more work had to be done before really tackling that issue. The way they learned their true parentage was one that could have serious repercussions, if not handled correctly. It is for that reason that I've decided to hold off any meeting between them in the home. The mom has let me know just how disappointed he was, but that he understood the reason behind it. He has actually began to pay me back for all the money I have spent on the twins' education. So far, he's paid me $6,524. The guy has been really trying to pay me back. I've kept records of his payments and haven't touched the money yet. I would rather put it into some kind of savings account for the twins and for myself. I've been doing much better mentally. I have continued to sketch and draw whenever I'm alone so that I don't let my mind wander too much. I've also rekindled my childhood love for gaming. Bought myself a piece for 2 weeks ago. PS5s are nowhere to be found these days and have been enjoying it ever since. The twins and I play together when we can, and it's helped ease the pain I felt when interacting with them. But it's clear every single one of us have been traumatized by my setbacks, whose actions I have been putting off any decisions about custody, at least until my therapist and I have the utmost confidence in my emotional stability. If there are any questions, I will be happy to answer what I can. Now for the top comments. Dude, I admire you for your girls. You are the father. Don't forget you are the father. No other men will do what you did. If not, you love them like a father. Thank you. I'm doing my best to do right by the twins and myself. Her treatment of the kids during this and her not asking about them in your last call is disturbing. Seems like she sees it as being their fault. Sad? Yeah. I used to think the world of her. Now I can't recognize the person she's become. I'm so impressed with the way you have handled this most excruciatingly painful event a man could ever experience. After reading the painful details from your now dead marriage, I think that I'm going to finally spend the money and get an at-home paternal test myself. I've been talking myself out of it for months, but fear of the results is not a valid excuse. Thank you for sharing your strength. Godspeed, friend. Don't make the same mistake I did in telling my wife about the test. Regardless of what you discover, I'm here if you need me. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to this story. I hope you all enjoyed it. Like and subscribe to the channel to get notified when a new video drops. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. This story is titled, My Parents Refused to Help Me Pay for Life-Saving Surgery, Choosing My Sister's Wedding Instead. Now they're begging me to save them from losing everything. Hey everyone, before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. All right, Reddit, buckle up because this is going to be a long one. I've been sitting on this story for a while, but after what went down last week, I need to get this shit off my chest. Fair warning, this isn't some feel-good family reconciliation story. This is about karma finally catching up to people who deserve it. So I 33 male, and I've spent the last 17 years of my life working construction. Started from the absolute bottom. We're talking pushing wheelbarrows full of concrete in 95-degree heat, hauling lumber up 3 flights of stairs kind of bottom. Now I run my own crews as a site supervisor, but we'll get to that part later. First, you need to understand where I came from, because that's what makes all this so fucked up. Growing up in our house was like living in some twisted parallel universe, where I was basically a ghost, while my younger sister Emma was treated like she discovered the cure for cancer every time she learned a new dance move. I'm not even exaggerating here. Our house looked like some kind of Emma shrine. Every wall, every shelf, every flat surface had some trophy, certificate, or photo of her achievements. Ballet recitals, piano competitions, spelling bee participation awards, you name it. It was displayed like a precious artifact in a museum. Me? I had exactly one photo in the house. One. It was from my high school graduation, tucked away in some dusty album that probably hasn't seen daylight since Obama's first term. And it's not like I was some deadbeat kid. I lettered in football and wrestling, maintained a solid B+ average while working part-time, never got in trouble with the law. But in my parents' eyes, that was just expected. No praise, no celebration, just a nod, and maybe a good job if they were feeling particularly generous that day. I started hitting the weights hard in sophomore year, partly cause of football, but mostly cause I needed somewhere to put all that anger. The gym became my sanctuary. While Emma was getting private piano lessons and dance tutorials, I was in our garage with a rusty bench press and some secondhand dumbbells I bought with my own money from mowing lawns. My old man never once spotted me, never showed any interest in what I was doing. He was too busy videotaping Emma's dance performances or whatever. You know what really gets me? I can count on one hand the number of times my parents showed up to my wrestling matches. 3. Out of 4 years of varsity competition, they always had some excuse. Emma had a recital, Emma had a competition, Emma needed help with her homework. I won the state championship in my weight class senior year. Neither of them was there. Why? Emma had an audition for some summer dance program she ended up quitting after 2 weeks anyway. By the time I hit 16, I was already working construction during summer breaks. Not because I had to, we weren't poor or anything. My old man had some cushy office job in management, and mom worked part-time as a real estate agent. Nah, I worked because I wanted to be anywhere but home. The guys on the site became more of a family to me than my actual family. They taught me everything. How to read blueprints, how to operate machinery, how to tell when someone's trying to cut corners that could get people killed. Most importantly, they taught me what it means to have someone's back. I moved out the day after high school graduation, got a full-time position with the construction company I'd been working summers for, rented a tiny studio apartment that barely fit a bed and a mini fridge. My parents barely noticed. They were too busy planning Emma's sweet 16 party, which, by the way, cost more than my first year's rent. The next few years, I busted my ass learning everything I could about construction. Started as a laborer, moved up to carpenter's assistant, then carpenter, then lead carpenter. By 25, I was running my own crew. The guys respected me because they knew I'd done every job I was asking them to do. I wasn't some college boy with a clipboard telling them how to work. I was right there in the trenches with them, getting just as dirty, lifting just as heavy. Meanwhile, Emma went off to some expensive private college. Guess who paid for that? Changed her major 3 times, and finally settled on communications or marketing or some other bullshit degree. Every time she came home, it was like the second coming of Christ. Mom would cook these elaborate meals. Dad would clear his schedule to spend quality time with her. Me? I got a text on my birthday if they remembered. But you know what? All that shit made me stronger. Every ignored achievement, every missed match, every time they chose her over me, it all just fueled the fire. I turned that anger into gains at the gym, into focus at work, into drive to succeed despite them. Not because of them. By the time everything went sideways with my health, I was benching 315 for reps, deadlifting 500, and running crews that finished projects ahead of schedule and under budget. So there I was at 28, crushing it at work, hitting new PRs at the gym every month, and finally feeling like I had my shit together. I'd worked my way up to site supervisor at one of the biggest construction companies in the area. Had my own apartment, nothing fancy, but it was mine. Was even thinking about maybe starting my own business down the line. Then life decided to remind me it's got a mean right hook. It started with this weird pain in my chest. Not like heartburn or muscle strain. This was different. At first, I brushed it off. You work construction long enough, random aches and pains become like background noise. Plus, I was that typical meathead who thought being tough meant ignoring when your body's trying to tell you something's wrong. Fucking stupid looking back on it. The real wake-up call came during a deadlift session. I was going for a new PR, 525 pounds. Everything felt solid during warm-ups. But as soon as I started pulling that weight, it felt like someone had wrapped a steel band around my chest and was tightening it with every breath. Had to bail on the lift. Me, the guy who once finished a wrestling match with a dislocated shoulder, had to drop the bar and sit down because I couldn't fucking breathe. My buddy Mark from the crew, same guy who taught me everything I know about concrete work, practically dragged my stubborn ass to the ER. Thought it was just going to be some pulled muscle or maybe a pinched nerve. Nope. After what felt like a million tests and scans, Doc comes in with that look on his face. You know the one, where they're trying to stay professional, but you can tell they're about to drop a bomb on you. Turns out I had this tumor pressing against my lung. Not the kind they can just cut out and be done with it either. We're talking major surgery, followed by treatments that sounded like they came straight out of a sci-fi movie. The kind of shit that makes you realize all those hours in the gym, all that protein powder and creatine, don't mean jack when your own body decides to turn against you. But here's the real kicker. The cost. Remember how I mentioned I was doing well at work? Yeah, well, construction companies aren't exactly known for their amazing benefits packages. No health insurance. And being the young, invincible dumbass I was, I hadn't bothered getting private coverage. Why waste money on insurance when I could spend it on supplements and new lifting gear, right? God, I was so fucking stupid. The numbers the hospital threw at me might as well have been in Monopoly money. Surgery alone was going to cost more than I made in 2 years. Then add in all the treatments, medications with names I couldn't even pronounce, follow-up care. We're talking enough money to buy a house in some states. And they wanted it up front, or at least proof I could pay. Welcome to American healthcare, right? I tried everything I could think of first. Called every insurance company, but pre-existing conditions were still a bitch back then. Looked into medical trials, but none were accepting new patients. Even checked out those medical tourism websites about getting treatment in Mexico or India, but the doctor shot that down real quick. Said I needed to start treatment like yesterday. My crew, man. Those guys were amazing. Mark started a GoFundMe right away. The other guys were offering to donate vacation days, sick leave, whatever they could. Even the old-timer who'd been busting my balls since day one about being too pretty for construction, because I actually wore sunscreen, fuck skin cancer, came by with an envelope full of cash he'd been saving for a new Harley. But it wasn't enough. Not even close. The numbers were just too big. We're talking six figures here. And time wasn't on my side. Every day I waited. This thing in my chest was growing, making it harder to breathe, harder to work, harder to even get through a normal day without feeling like I was drowning on dry land. Lost 15 pounds in the first month, just from stress and not being able to eat right. Had to drop down to light duty at work because I couldn't handle the heavy lifting anymore. Every breath felt like I was trying to suck air through a coffee stirrer. Nights were the worst. Lying there in the dark, feeling this thing inside me, wondering if each breath might be the one where my lung finally gives out. That's when I made the hardest decision of my life. After years of being the independent one, the one who never needed help, the one who'd built everything from scratch, I had to swallow my pride and go ask my parents for help. They weren't rich, but they had savings, good credit, a paid-off house. Plus, they were my fucking parents. The people who are supposed to have your back when shit hits the fan. It was a Tuesday evening when I drove to my parents' house. Remember that clearly because I'd just gotten my latest test results that morning, and the doc was pushing hard for us to schedule the surgery ASAP. I'd lost another 10 pounds that month. My work jeans were hanging off me like I was some teenager trying to look cool. Chest pain was getting worse, to the point where I had to take breaks walking up a single flight of stairs. Their house looked exactly the same as it always had. Real estate prices in their neighborhood had doubled since they bought the place. They were sitting on at least $500,000 in equity alone. I sat down in the chair across from them, trying to ignore how my chest felt like it was in a vice grip. Started explaining everything. The diagnosis, the timeline, the costs. Showed them all the paperwork from the hospital, the treatment plans, everything. Even had a letter from my doctor explaining how urgent this was. My hands were shaking the whole time, but not from the illness. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done. Asking them for help. You know what they did while I was laying all this out? Mom kept glancing at her phone, like she was waiting for a more important call. Dad just sat there with his arms crossed. That same look on his face he used to get when I'd tell him about my wrestling matches, like he was tolerating an annoying sales pitch. When I finally finished talking, there was this long silence, the kind that makes your skin crawl. Then Mom and Dad did this thing they always did, this little look between them, like they were having a whole conversation without words. Finally, Dad cleared his throat and dropped the bomb. We can't help you with that, Jake. We've already committed our savings to Emma's wedding. I thought I'd misheard him at first, like maybe the tumor had spread to my brain or something. But nope, he just sat there, looking at me like he'd told me they couldn't lend me $20 for gas. The wedding? I remember my voice cracking. Not from emotion, from straight-up disbelief. You're choosing a fucking party over my life? Mom jumped in then, all smooth and calm like she was explaining something to a child. It's not just a party, Jake. This is Emma's special day. We've already put down non-refundable deposits. The venue alone was $30,000. $30,000 for a venue. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there literally dying, needing surgery that could save my life, and they're worried about their precious Emma's Instagram perfect wedding. I could die without this surgery. I said it slow, making sure they understood exactly what they were doing. This isn't me asking for help buying a car or starting a business. This is life or death. Dad actually had the balls to shrug, like he was dismissing a waiter who'd brought him the wrong appetizer. You've always been resourceful, Jake. You'll figure something out. This is Emma's time. We can't let her down. That's when it hit me. All those years of being the forgotten son, all those missed events, all those times they chose her over me. It wasn't just them being busy or distracted. They genuinely valued her happiness over my life. Their son could literally die, and they were more concerned about their daughter having the perfect wedding photos. I got up to leave, my legs barely holding me up. Mom actually had the nerve to say, "Don't be dramatic, Jake. There must be some payment plan you can work out with the hospital." Payment plan? Like I was buying a fucking dishwasher or something. The last thing I remember before walking out was looking at that wall of Emma's photos. All those smiling faces, all that money spent making sure their precious daughter had everything perfect. And there I was, their son, walking out of their house knowing I meant less to them than a party. That was the last time I spoke to them for almost 5 years. The next few months after my parents chose a fucking wedding over their son's life were pure hell. Not the metaphorical kind. I'm talking actual, physical, wondering if you'll wake up tomorrow kind of hell. But here's the thing about hitting rock bottom. Once you're there, you've got nothing left to lose. And sometimes, that's exactly what you need to find out who you really are. First thing I did after leaving their house was drive straight to work. It was already dark, but I knew Mark would still be there finishing paperwork. Guy's been running night crew for 15 years. Found him in the site office, doing what he always does, cursing at Excel spreadsheets and drinking coffee that could strip paint. Told him everything. Not gonna lie, broke down halfway through. Here I am, 6 feet 2 inches, 220 pounds. Well, more like 190 by then. Crying like a baby in a construction trailer. Know what Mark did? Didn't say a word. Just got up, locked the office door. Then he picked up his phone and started making calls. By midnight, we had a plan. Not a good one, but when you're drowning, you don't complain about the quality of the rope. The next few weeks were a blur of hospital payment negotiations, loan applications, and picking up every extra shift I could physically handle. The crew, my real family, stepped up in ways I still can't talk about without getting choked up. These guys, most of them living paycheck to paycheck themselves, somehow scraped together almost $15,000 for my treatment fund. Miguel, our master carpenter, who'd been sending half his paycheck to family in Mexico, handed me an envelope with $2,000 in cash. Said his kids could wait another year for their PlayStation. Big Pete, who everyone thought was just a stereotypical muscle-head concrete specialist, turned out to be a whiz at organizing fundraisers. Man got the local gym to host a bench press competition, convinced local businesses to donate prizes, raised another $8,000 in one weekend. But it still wasn't enough. Not even close. The surgery alone was going to cost over $80,000, and that's before adding in all the other treatments. So I did what I had to do. Sold my truck, the one I'd spent 2 years restoring on weekends. Sold my custom gaming PC. Sold every piece of gym equipment I owned. Even sold my grandfather's watch. The only thing he'd ever left me. That one hurt the most. Meanwhile, I was still trying to work as much as possible, even though by this point I could barely make it through a 4-hour shift without feeling like I was breathing through a straw. The tumor was growing, pressing harder against my lung. Every breath felt like trying to inflate a balloon inside a box that's too small. Lost another 15 pounds. My work boots stopped fitting because my feet were swelling from the fluid retention. The worst part? Seeing Emma's wedding preparations all over social media. My parents were posting constant updates about venue tastings, flower arrangements, dress fittings. Each post was like a knife in the gut. The flower budget alone could have covered one of my chemotherapy sessions. The designer dress they bought her probably cost enough to pay for my first round of treatment. Then came the wedding invitations. Well, not to me, obviously. I heard about them from a cousin who still talked to me. Apparently, they were these elaborate things with gold foil and custom calligraphy. Cost like $15 per piece. They ordered 200 of them. Do the math on that one. $3,000 on fucking paper that most people would throw away, while their son was working security shifts at a warehouse between his regular job, barely able to breathe. But here's where the story takes a turn you might not expect. Remember that GoFundMe that Mark started? It caught the attention of one of our suppliers, big commercial construction materials company. Their CEO had lost his brother to the same type of cancer I had. Guy calls me personally one morning, says he wants to help. Next thing I know, they're offering to cover 40% of my medical costs through their corporate charitable foundation. That was the break I needed. Between that, the loans I'd taken out, everything I'd sold, and what the crew had raised, I finally had enough to schedule the surgery. Had to drain my 401k, max out 3 credit cards, and sign up for a payment plan that'd take years to pay off. But I was going to live. The surgery was scheduled for 3 days before Emma's wedding. Not that they knew or cared. They were too busy with final dress fittings and rehearsal dinners. I went into that operating room alone. Well, not really alone. Mark took the day off to drive me there. Miguel's wife made me a care package of homemade tamales for after the surgery. Big Pete organized the crew to cover all my shifts for the next month. You want to know true family? It's not the people who share your DNA. It's the guys who work overtime so you can make rent while you're recovering. It's the rough-handed carpenter who sits in a hospital waiting room for 12 hours straight just so you don't wake up alone. It's the crew that passes around a hard hat collecting dollars and quarters because every bit helps. I made it through the surgery. Spent 2 weeks in the hospital, another month recovering at home. The crew took turns checking on me, bringing food, helping with basic stuff I couldn't do while I was healing. Not once did my phone ring with a call from my parents or Emma. They were probably too busy posting wedding photos on Instagram. Recovery was a bitch. Anyone who's been through major surgery knows what I'm talking about. That feeling where even breathing feels like you're learning a new skill. But here's the thing about hitting bottom. Once you start climbing back up, you realize just how strong you really are. And man, did I climb. The first few months were rough. Lost most of my muscle mass, couldn't lift more than a gallon of milk without feeling like my chest was going to explode. But you know what? Every morning I woke up breathing was a middle finger to the people who'd left me for dead. Started small, walking to the mailbox, then around the block, then actual cardio. Rebuilt myself one painful step at a time. Mark and the crew kept me on light duty, mostly supervising and doing paperwork. Wasn't much, but it kept me in the game. Started learning the business side of construction, contracts, bidding, project management. Turns out when you can't lift heavy shit anymore, your brain starts working overtime. Who knew? About a year after the surgery, I got an unexpected call from that CEO who'd helped with my medical bills. Guy wanted to meet for coffee. Figured he was just checking up on his investment, making sure I hadn't died or whatever. Nope. Turns out he'd been watching how I handled everything. The recovery, the work, the crew management. Offered me a position as a project manager for their commercial division. Better pay, full benefits. Fucking finally. And most importantly, a chance to learn how the big boys play. Took that opportunity and ran with it like I was being chased. Spent the next few years absorbing everything I could about commercial construction. Nights, weekends, didn't matter. While Emma was posting about her perfect suburban life and my parents were bragging about their country club membership, I was building something real. Started small at first, took some of the smaller projects nobody else wanted. You know, the ones where the margins are tight and you gotta get creative. Learned every trick in the book about maximizing efficiency without cutting corners. My crews loved me because I'd actually been in their boots. Known what it's like to bust your ass in 100-degree heat for minimum wage. By year 3, I was handling multi-million-dollar projects. Remember that tumor that nearly killed me? Used that experience to specialize in medical facility construction. Turns out hospitals love working with someone who understands their world from both sides. Started making connections, building relationships. The kind of networking you can't fake because it comes from shared experience. Then I got the project that changed everything. A $50 million medical center renovation. Biggest job I'd ever managed. Spent 6 months planning it down to the smallest detail. The project was a massive success. Came in under budget and ahead of schedule. Got written up in some industry magazines, won a few awards. Suddenly, I wasn't just some construction guy anymore. I was an innovative voice in medical facility design, or some shit like that. Started getting calls from other healthcare systems wanting to work with us. Meanwhile, life at home got better too. Met Sarah at a supplier conference. She runs a commercial electrical contracting company. First woman I'd ever met who could talk about load-bearing calculations and still make me laugh so hard my chest hurt. In a good way this time. Got married last year. Small ceremony, just close friends and my real family, the crew. Everything was going great. Then about 6 months ago, I started hearing rumors through the industry grapevine. Remember that fancy country club my parents were so proud of belonging to? Turns out Dad had gotten involved in some real estate investment scheme with some other members. You know the type. Promise huge returns, minimal risk, all that bullshit. Only this time, it wasn't just their membership dues they'd invested. They'd mortgaged their house, cashed out their retirement accounts, the whole 9 yards. First sign something was wrong came when they suddenly started selling off their toys. Dad's precious golf club membership, gone. Mom's brand new luxury SUV, traded in for a used Honda. Their regular spots at all the charity galas and social events, mysteriously empty. But the real shit didn't hit the fan until last month. Got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Almost didn't answer it. Was in the middle of reviewing bids for a new project. Wish I'd let it go to voicemail. It was my mother's voice, sounding small and desperate in a way I'd never heard before. Jake, we need to talk. It's important. That phone call from my mother? Turns out their small financial trouble was more like the Titanic after meeting that iceberg. The investment scheme Dad got involved with wasn't just bad. It was catastrophically, criminally bad. Like FBI investigating the whole thing bad. They'd sunk everything they had into it. Their retirement savings, their home equity, even took out additional loans using their house as collateral. All gone. But here's where it gets interesting. Their first move wasn't to call their precious Emma, their golden child, their perfect daughter, the one they'd chosen over my literal survival. Nope. They called me. The forgotten son. The one they'd left to rot when he needed them most. Because Emma? She'd already turned them down. Hard. See, about a week before they called me, They'd shown up at Emma's McMansion in her fancy gated community. The same house they'd helped her and her lawyer husband buy, with a massive down payment, while I was still paying off my medical bills, by the way. They'd packed up some suitcases, thinking they could just move in with their precious daughter until things sorted themselves out. Want to know what their perfect princess did? Had her husband answer the door? This guy, this corporate lawyer who'd spent the last 5 years kissing their asses at every family gathering, looks them dead in the eye and says, "We can't risk having your financial problems affect our children's future." Then he hands them a business card for a bankruptcy attorney and closes the door. In their faces. While Emma watched from the window, the same daughter they'd spent hundreds of thousands on, private school, dance lessons, college, that ridiculous wedding, wouldn't even let them sleep on her couch. The same parents who'd chosen her wedding over their son's life were now standing on her doorstep with nowhere to go, and she treated them like door-to-door salesmen. Mom told me all this through tears when she finally broke down and called me. Not because she felt bad about what they'd done to me. No, she was just desperate. They were 3 months behind on their mortgage. The bank was starting foreclosure proceedings. Dad's precious Mercedes had already been repossessed. All their friends from the country club had suddenly stopped returning their calls. "We don't know what to do, Jake," she sobbed into the phone. "We've tried everything. We need help." I sat there in my office, my nice big corner office with a view of the city, listening to her cry. The same woman who'd sat there stone-faced when I told her I might die without surgery was now breaking down because they might lose their house. "How much do you need?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral. Professional. Like I was talking to a subcontractor who'd screwed up a bid. "50,000, she whispered. "Just to catch up on the mortgage and hold off the foreclosure. We can figure out the rest later." 50,000. The exact amount they'd spent on Emma's wedding photographer and videographer. I remember seeing the photos. They'd hired some famous Instagram guy who usually did celebrity weddings. Got a whole team of videographers too, with drones and everything. Real artistic shit. "What does Emma say about all this?" I asked, even though I already knew. There was a long pause. She says they're investing in their children's future, that they can't risk their financial stability. "But Jake, we're your parents. We raised you. We ... I cut her off. "Like you raised me when I needed surgery? When I was literally fighting for my life? That was different," she snapped, sudden anger replacing the tears. "That was an emergency. We had commitments." "An emergency?" I felt my voice rising. "I could have died, Mom. Actually died. But you had commitments to Emma's wedding. And now you're calling me because she won't help you?" That's when Dad got on the phone, still trying to sound authoritative, like he had any power left in this situation. "Now listen here, son. What's past is past. We need to think about the future. About family. Family." There was that word again. The same one they'd thrown around when they needed something, but conveniently forgot when I was the one in need. "Tell me something, Dad," I said, leaning back in my chair. "When Emma turned you away, when her husband handed you that bankruptcy attorney's card, did it hurt? Did it feel like someone had ripped your heart out? Like the person you'd given everything to just didn't care if you lived or died?" The silence on the other end was deafening. The morning after that phone call from my parents, I had a lot to think about. Spent a few hours in my home gym, the one Sarah and I had built in our basement, not really working out, just sitting there on my bench press, staring at myself in the mirror, looking at the scar on my chest from the surgery I'd had to fight for alone. The next day, I got a call from the bank handling my parents' mortgage. Turns out I was still listed as their emergency contact. Emma had demanded to be removed from all their financial documents months ago. The bank representative was very professional, explaining they were preparing for foreclosure proceedings, asked if I was in a position to help resolve the situation. I told them I'd get back to them. Had some thinking to do first. That Saturday, I drove down to my old construction site, the one where I'd started as a laborer, where Mark and the crew had saved my life. Place was different now. We were finishing up that $50 million medical center project. My project. Standing there in the morning sun, looking at this massive building that existed because I'd survived, I made my decision. Called my parents. Told them to meet me at the site. Told them to come at 7 a.m. sharp, when the day crew would be arriving. They showed up looking like hell. "Why are we here, Jake?" Mom asked, trying to sound authoritative but her voice shaking. They looked out of place in their casual luxury clothes, surrounded by men and women in work gear who were actually producing something real. I turned to face them. "See this building? This whole medical center? It exists because I survived. Not because of you, in spite of you. Every person who gets treatment here, every life that gets saved in this building, it's because I made it without you. Dad started to say something, but I cut him off. I brought you here because I want you to understand something. 5 years ago, I sat in your living room and begged for help. I needed $80,000 for surgery that would save my life. You chose Emma's wedding instead, a party that cost more than what I needed to survive. We've apologized for that, Mom interrupted, her voice small. We were wrong. We know that now. No, I said, my voice hard. You're not sorry you did it. You're sorry you need something from me now. There's a difference. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app. You need $50,000 to save your house. That's less than what you spent on Emma's wedding flowers. The daughter who won't even let you sleep on her couch now. Are you going to help us or not? Dad demanded, a flash of his old arrogance showing through. I looked at him for a long moment. Then I turned to the crew, my real family. Hey, Mark, remember when I needed surgery? When everyone here pitched in to help save my life? Mark walked over, wiping his hands on his vest. Sure do, boss. Still got the hard hat we used to collect donations. I turned back to my parents. These men, who make a fraction of what you used to make, who have their own families to support, gave everything they could to help me live. They showed me what real family means. Then I did something that felt like lifting 1,000 pounds off my chest. I smiled. The answer is no. I'm not giving you a cent. Not for the house, not for anything. Ever. Mom started crying. Dad's face went red. We're your parents. You can't just... I can. I cut him off. And I am. You know what the difference is between you and Emma? Nothing. You're exactly the same. You only care about people when they're useful to you. The moment they need something, you throw them away. I gestured to the medical center rising behind me. I built something real here. Something that helps people. While you were throwing parties and playing golf, I was creating something that matters. And I did it without you. Where are we supposed to go? Mom sobbed. We'll be homeless. I shrugged. You'll figure it out. You're resourceful. Isn't that what you told me when I was dying? Started walking away then, but turned back one last time. Oh, and Dad? Remember what you said about family helping family? You were right. Family does help family. You're just not my family anymore. Left them standing there in the dust of my construction site, surrounded by the men and women who'd shown me what real family means. Went up to my office and watched through the window as they got in their beat-up Honda and drove away. That was 2 months ago. They lost the house last week. Emma's still not taking their calls. Last I heard, they're living in some extended stay motel, trying to figure out what to do next. Their country club friends have all disappeared. Their golden child wants nothing to do with them. And me? I just signed a contract for another medical center project, bigger than the last one. The crew's still with me. Every single one of them. Sarah's pregnant with our first kid. Life's good. Sometimes karma takes her time, but when she finally shows up, she makes sure to finish the job right. Edit. Holy shit, this blew up. Thanks for all the awards and support. And for those asking, no, I don't regret my decision. Some bridges need to stay burned. Family didn't invite me to Christmas because it's no place for losers, my brother said. I calmly agreed and stopped funding his kids and wife. Now he's begging. My name is Baylor, and for 32 years, I've been the family ATM. Not the favorite son, not the success story they brag about at dinner parties, just the reliable one who pays the bills when everyone else comes up short. My younger brother Trevor has always been the golden child, the one with the charm and the big dreams, while I've been the one working double shifts to make sure his dreams don't turn into nightmares. It all started when we were kids. Trevor was the athlete, the popular one, the kid who could talk his way out of trouble with a smile and a joke. I was the quiet one who got good grades, worked part-time jobs in high school, and somehow always ended up covering for Trevor's mistakes. When he crashed Dad's car at 17, I gave him my summer job savings to help with the deductible. When he needed money for college applications, I worked extra shifts at the grocery store. It became a pattern that followed us into adulthood. After college, Trevor married his high school sweetheart, Jessica, and they had 2 kids, Emma and Jake. Beautiful kids, smart as whips, and I loved them like they were my own. Trevor bounced from job to job, always chasing the next big opportunity, the next get-rich-quick scheme. Jessica worked part-time as a dental hygienist, but with 2 kids and Trevor's inconsistent income, they struggled constantly. That's where I came in. Uncle Baylor, the guy who never missed a birthday, never forgot Christmas presents, and somehow always had money when the lights were about to get shut off. I worked as an IT manager for a mid-sized company, made decent money, lived modestly in a 1-bedroom apartment, and directed most of my extra income toward keeping Trevor's family afloat. The list of things I'd paid for over the years was staggering. Emma's dance classes, Jake's soccer league fees, emergency car repairs when Trevor's transmission died, groceries when the cupboards were bare, the deposit on their apartment when they got evicted from the previous one. I calculated once that over 10 years, I'd given them close to $80,000. Not loans, mind you. Gifts. Because family helps family, right? My parents, Patricia and Robert, lived comfortably on Dad's pension and Mom's part-time job at the local library. They weren't rich, but they weren't struggling either. They'd help Trevor occasionally with small amounts, but somehow the big emergencies always fell to me. Baylor is so responsible, Mom would say. He doesn't mind helping out his brother, except I was starting to mind. A lot. The breaking point began building 3 months before Christmas. Trevor called me on a Tuesday evening, his voice tight with stress. Baylor, man, I need a favor. I was sitting in my apartment, eating leftover takeout and watching Netflix after a 12-hour day debugging server issues. What's up? Jessica's hours got cut at work, and Jake needs this special equipment for his football team. It's expensive, but if he doesn't have it, he can't play. And you know how important this is to him. Jake was 11 and decent at football, but he wasn't exactly heading for the NFL. Still, I cared about the kid. How much are we talking? $500 for the gear, plus I need to cover the team fees, so maybe $800 total? I sighed. Trevor, I just covered your rent last month. I know, and I'm grateful. This is different. It's for Jake. You wouldn't want him to miss out because his dad's going through a rough patch, right? The guilt trip. Classic Trevor. I transferred the money the next day. 2 weeks later, I was scrolling through Facebook during my lunch break when I saw photos from Jessica's girls' night out. Expensive-looking restaurant, cocktails, her and 3 friends posing with plates of food that probably cost more than I spent on groceries in a week. The photos were posted the same day I'd sent the money for Jake's football gear. When Trevor called the following month asking for help with their car insurance payment, I asked about the girls' night. Oh, that. Yeah, well, Jessica needed to blow off some steam. Work's been stressing her out. With money I sent for Jake's football? Baylor, come on. We're juggling a lot here. Sometimes we have to borrow from one thing to pay for another. It all evens out. It all evens out. That became Trevor's catchphrase whenever I questioned how my money was being spent. When I saw photos of his new fishing rod and tackle box on Instagram after I'd covered their electric bill. When Jessica posted pictures of her fresh highlights and manicure after I'd paid for Emma's school supplies. It all evens out. The pattern was so established that Trevor barely pretended anymore. He'd call, explain the crisis, name the amount needed, and expect the money to appear in his account within 24 hours. And like an idiot, I kept sending it. What made it worse was how I was treated at family gatherings. Trevor was always the center of attention, regaling everyone with stories about his latest business venture or the kids' achievements. I'd sit on the sidelines nodding politely while he took credit for providing opportunities I'd actually paid for. Jake's doing so well in football, he'd tell relatives. We invested in getting him the right equipment, and it's really paying off. Emma's dance recital was beautiful. We're so proud of her. The lessons are expensive, but it's worth it to see her shine. We invested. We're proud. Never a mention of Uncle Baylor, who made it all possible. During Thanksgiving dinner 2 months before the Christmas incident, Trevor announced his latest entrepreneurial venture. I'm starting a landscaping business, he said, gesturing with his fork. Going to be my own boss, set my own hours. I've got it all figured out. That sounds wonderful, honey, Mom said, beaming. You've always been so creative. I'd heard variations of this speech dozens of times. The food truck business that lasted 3 weeks. The online retail store that never sold anything. The personal training certification he got but never used. Each one was going to be the thing that finally made him rich and independent. The startup costs are pretty steep, though, Trevor continued, glancing in my direction. Need to get a truck, equipment, insurance. Probably looking at $15,000, $20,000 to get it off the ground properly. The table went quiet. I could feel everyone's eyes on me, waiting for me to offer to bankroll Trevor's latest dream. Instead, I cut into my turkey and said, Sounds like you'll need to save up or get a business loan. Trevor's face fell. Yeah, well, banks are pretty strict about lending to new businesses. For good reason, I said. Most small businesses fail within the first year. The tension at the table was thick enough to cut with a knife. Jessica shot me a look that could have frozen water. Mom cleared her throat and changed the subject to Emma's upcoming dance recital. After dinner, Trevor cornered me in the kitchen while I was helping with dishes. What was that about? He asked, his voice low and angry. What was what about? You know what? The business loan comment? You've always helped before. I set down the plate I was drying and turned to face him. Trevor, I've given you thousands of dollars over the years. Maybe it's time you figured out how to stand on your own. Stand on my own? His voice rose. Easy for you to say. You don't have kids. You don't have responsibilities. I don't have kids because I've been supporting yours. The words hung in the air between us. Trevor's face flushed red. Nobody asked you to do that. You literally ask me every month. That's different. That's emergencies. This is my future we're talking about. I dried my hands on the dish towel and headed for the door. Your future isn't my responsibility, Trevor. That conversation marked the beginning of the end, though I didn't know it at the time. Trevor stopped calling as frequently, and when he did, there was a coldness in his voice that hadn't been there before. Jessica unfriended me on Facebook. The kids still hugged me when they saw me, but there was an awkwardness that hadn't existed before. 3 weeks before Christmas, I got a call from Mom. Baylor, honey, we need to talk about Christmas dinner. I was at my desk at work, trying to solve a network issue that had been plaguing us for days. What about it? Well, Trevor and Jessica think it might be better if we kept it small this year. Just immediate family. I blinked, not understanding. I am immediate family. Mom sighed. You know what I mean. Trevor and Jessica and the kids. They're feeling a little stressed about money right now, and having someone there who they owe money to. It might make things uncomfortable. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Are you uninviting me to Christmas? It's not that we don't want you there, Mom said quickly. It's just that Trevor thinks it would be awkward. And you know how he gets when he's stressed. Mom, I've been keeping his family fed and housed for 10 years. And we appreciate that, sweetheart. But maybe this year you could do your own thing? Visit friends? Take a vacation? I sat in my office chair, staring at the computer screen, trying to process what I was hearing. My own mother was disinviting me from Christmas because my financial support made my brother uncomfortable. Let me get this straight, I said slowly. Trevor owes me thousands of dollars, hasn't paid back a cent, and now I'm banned from Christmas because my presence might remind him of that fact? Baylor, please don't make this harder than it has to be. I hung up without saying goodbye. 20 minutes later, my phone rang. Trevor. Look, man, I heard Mom talk to you. Yeah, she did. It's nothing personal. It's just that Jessica's been really stressed about the money situation, and having you there would make it weird for everyone. Weird for everyone or weird for you? Come on, don't be like that. You know how these family things go. It's supposed to be relaxed, fun. We can't relax if we're worried about you judging us or keeping track of what we owe you. I laughed, a bitter sound. I've never once asked you to pay me back, Trevor. Not once. I know, but it's implied, isn't it? Every time you look at us, we can see you calculating what we cost you. Maybe because you do cost me. A lot. See? That's exactly what I'm talking about. This attitude. Christmas is supposed to be about family, not about money. Right. And apparently, there's no place for losers like me at the family table. The line went quiet. I could hear Trevor breathing, could picture him trying to figure out how to respond. I never said you were a loser. You didn't have to. I hung up and sat in my office, staring out the window at the December sky. The company holiday party decorations sparkled around me, but I felt empty. For 10 years, I'd prioritized Trevor's family over my own life, my own future, my own happiness. And in return, I'd been labeled a burden, someone whose presence would ruin their Christmas. That evening, I made a decision that would change everything. I opened my laptop and started going through my financial records, automatic payments, bank transfers, Venmo transactions. Over the past year alone, I'd sent Trevor and Jessica $12,400 for their rent, their car payment, the kids' activities, emergency expenses that seemed to pop up every month like clockwork. I canceled every automatic payment, the ones for Emma's dance classes, the ones for Jake's sports fees, the monthly contribution to their grocery budget that Trevor had convinced me to set up because it's easier to budget when we know we can count on it. Gone. All of it. Then, I called my bank and put a block on any future transfers to Trevor's account without my explicit approval for each transaction. By the time I was done, I'd severed every financial tie that bound me to Trevor's family. It felt strange, like cutting strings that had controlled me for a decade, but it also felt liberating. I didn't tell anyone what I'd done. I just went to work the next day, came home to my quiet apartment, and for the first time in years, didn't check my phone obsessively to see if Trevor needed money for some new crisis. Christmas came and went. I spent it alone, which should have been depressing, but actually felt peaceful. I cooked myself a nice dinner, watched movies, and didn't think about what Trevor's family was doing without me. I didn't send presents. I didn't call. I simply let Christmas happen without me. The first crack in Trevor's perfect little family Christmas came on December 28th. Jessica called me. Baylor? It's Jessica. I was surprised to hear from her. We hadn't spoken directly in months. Hi, Jessica. Listen, I know things have been weird lately, but we have a problem. Emma's dance studio is threatening to drop her from classes if we don't pay the balance by January 2nd. I know you usually handle that, but the payment didn't go through this month. I canceled the automatic payments. Silence on the other end of the line. What? I canceled all the automatic payments. I won't be covering Emma's dance classes anymore. But Baylor, she's been in this program for 3 years. She's finally getting good parts in the recitals. You can't just... I can. And I did. Trevor made it clear that there's no place for losers like me in your family. So I'm not part of your family anymore, which means your family expenses aren't my problem. Baylor, that's not... Trevor didn't mean it like that. Oh, how did he mean it, Jessica? She stumbled over her words, trying to find a way to explain away what couldn't be explained away. He was just stressed. You know how he gets. I know exactly how he gets. And I know exactly what he meant. Emma's dance classes are your responsibility now. We can't afford them without your help. Then I guess Emma will have to find a more affordable hobby. I hung up, feeling bad for Emma, but resolved to stick to my decision. 5 minutes later, Trevor called. What the hell, Baylor? Jessica's crying because you're cutting off Emma's dance classes. I'm cutting off everything, Trevor. All of it. You wanted a Christmas without the loser brother? Congratulations. You get a life without the loser brother, too. Come on, man. You're being petty. So we didn't invite you to one Christmas dinner. Big deal. Get over it. It's not about one dinner, Trevor. It's about 10 years of being treated like an ATM instead of a brother. We don't treat you like an ATM. I laughed. When's the last time you called me just to talk? When's the last time you asked how I was doing? When's the last time we hung out without you needing money for something? Silence. That's what I thought. Baylor, listen. I'm sorry about the Christmas thing. We can do New Year's instead. Big family dinner, just like always. With me paying for the groceries? Well, if you want to contribute... No, Trevor. I'm done contributing. To anything. Your rent, your car payment, your kids' activities, your wife's girls' nights. Done. You can't be serious. Dead serious. Figure it out yourself. The next few weeks were blissfully quiet. No emergency calls about past due bills. No last-minute requests for grocery money. No guilt trips about letting down the kids. For the first time in a decade, my bank account grew instead of shrank every month. I used the money I would have given Trevor to finally take that vacation I'd been putting off for years. I booked a week in Costa Rica, something I dreamed about but never done, because there was always some family crisis that required my funds instead. While I was lying on a beach in Tamarindo, sipping a cold beer and watching the sunset, my phone buzzed with increasingly desperate messages from Trevor. Baylor, call me. We need to talk. Dude, the mortgage company is threatening foreclosure. I need help. Baylor, please. The kids are asking why you haven't called. I read each message, felt a familiar pang of guilt, and then deleted them without responding. This was Trevor's test. Could he handle his own life without his big brother's financial safety net? The answer, apparently, was no. I came back from Costa Rica to find 23 missed calls from various family members. Mom, Dad, Trevor, Jessica, even Jessica's mother had called to tell me I needed to step up and help my brother. The first call I returned was to Mom. Baylor, thank goodness. Trevor's been trying to reach you for weeks. I know. I was on vacation. Vacation? While your brother's family is falling apart? My brother's family fell apart the day they decided I wasn't good enough to join them for Christmas. That's ancient history now, sweetheart. Trevor needs your help. They're behind on everything. The mortgage, the car payments, the kids' school fees. They might lose the house. Then maybe Trevor should get a job that pays enough to support his family. He has a job. Part-time at a sporting goods store, Mom. That's not a career. That's something teenagers do after school. You can't just abandon them. I'm not abandoning them. I'm setting boundaries. There's a difference. Mom sighed dramatically. I don't understand what's gotten into you. What's gotten into me is self-respect. Something I should have developed years ago. The conversation with Dad went similarly, except he tried the disappointed father approach. I raised you better than this, Baylor. Family takes care of family. I've been taking care of this family for 10 years, Dad. Where were you when Trevor needed help? We helped when we could. You helped with $50 here and there. I was sending thousands. Because you make more money. I make more money because I worked for it. I got an education, found a good job, and lived below my means. Trevor chose to coast on my generosity instead of building a career. He's trying. He's 30 years old, Dad. How long is he going to keep trying before he actually succeeds at something? Dad didn't have an answer for that. The most heartbreaking call came from Emma. She was 12 now, Old enough to understand that something had changed, but not old enough to understand why. Uncle Baylor? It's Emma. Her voice was small, uncertain. It broke my heart. Hi, sweetheart. How are you? I'm okay, I guess. Mom says I can't do dance anymore because it's too expensive, and Daddy's been really sad lately. I closed my eyes, feeling the weight of her disappointment. I'm sorry to hear that, Emma. Are you mad at us? The innocent question hit me like a truck. I'm not mad at you, Emma. Not at all. Then why don't you come over anymore? Jake misses you too. We used to play video games all the time. It's complicated, sweetheart. It's a grown-up problem between me and your dad. Can't you just say sorry to each other and make up? If only it were that simple. Maybe someday, Emma. After I hung up with Emma, I sat in my apartment, questioning whether I was doing the right thing. These kids didn't ask to be born into a family where their father couldn't provide for them. They didn't deserve to suffer because of the conflict between Trevor and me. But I also knew that if I caved now, nothing would change. Trevor would learn that he could treat me however he wanted, and I'd still be there to bail him out. The pattern would continue indefinitely. I had to stay strong. February brought a new wave of desperation from Trevor. He'd lost the part-time job at the sporting goods store for showing up late too often. Jessica was working extra shifts at the dental office, but it wasn't enough to cover their expenses without my monthly contributions. Trevor started showing up at my apartment building, waiting for me in the parking lot when I got home from work. Baylor, we need to talk. I saw him before he saw me and considered turning around and driving away, but that would just delay the inevitable conversation. What do you want, Trevor? I want my brother back. He looked terrible. He'd lost weight, his clothes were wrinkled, and there were dark circles under his eyes. For a moment, I felt sorry for him. I'm right here. No, you're not. You're angry and bitter, and you're taking it out on Jessica and the kids. I'm not taking anything out on anyone. I'm just not paying your bills anymore. Baylor, we're going to lose everything. The house, the cars, everything. Is that what you want? What I want is for you to take responsibility for your own life. I am taking responsibility. I'm looking for a better job. I'm trying to get the landscaping business off the ground. With what money? You couldn't afford to start the business when you had my financial support. How are you going to do it now? Trevor ran his hands through his hair, a gesture I remembered from childhood when he was frustrated. I need help, Baylor. Just temporary. Just until I get back on my feet. How many times have I heard that over the past 10 years? This time is different. This time is different because I'm not falling for it anymore. Trevor's expression hardened. You know what your problem is. You're bitter because I have a family and you don't. You're alone and you're jealous. So you're trying to destroy what I've built. His words stung because there was a grain of truth in them. I was alone. I didn't have a wife or kids, but I'd made those sacrifices to support his family. You know why I don't have a family, Trevor? Because every time I saved money to buy a house, or take a woman on a nice vacation, or do anything to improve my own life, you had an emergency that required my savings. I put my life on hold for 10 years to support yours. Nobody asked you to do that. You asked me to do that. Every month, every crisis, every time you called crying about being broke. I never cried. You're crying now? Trevor wiped his eyes angrily. This isn't crying. This is frustration. This is consequences, Trevor. For the first time in your life, you're experiencing actual consequences for your choices. My choices? What about your choice to abandon your niece and nephew? The guilt trip. I'd been waiting for it. I didn't abandon Emma and Jake. I stopped enabling their father. They don't understand the difference. Then explain it to them. Tell them that Uncle Baylor isn't their personal ATM anymore. Trevor stood there for a moment, breathing heavily. Then he said the thing I knew was coming. If you don't help us, we're going to lose the house. Emma and Jake will have to change schools. Jessica might have to quit her job if we move too far away. You're going to destroy 2 innocent kids' lives because you're mad at me. I'm going to let you be responsible for your own family. Same thing. No, Trevor, it's not. He left after that, but I knew he'd be back. The foreclosure process takes months, and Trevor would spend every one of those months trying to guilt, manipulate, or convince me to save him one more time. March brought the divorce papers. Jessica filed for divorce and moved back in with her parents, taking Emma and Jake with her. The official reason was irreconcilable differences, but everyone in the family knew the real reason. Trevor couldn't provide for his family, and without my financial support, the whole house of cards had collapsed. Trevor called me, sobbing this time for real. Are you happy now? My wife left me. She took my kids. I'm going to lose the house. Everything's falling apart. I felt genuinely sorry for him, but I also knew that this collapse had been inevitable. I'd just been postponing it with regular infusions of cash. I'm not happy about any of this, Trevor. Then help me fix it. I can't fix your marriage. I can't fix your relationship with your kids. I can't fix the fact that you're 30 years old with no real job skills or career prospects. You could help me keep the house. If I can show Jessica that I've got the mortgage covered, maybe she'll come back. With money I give you? Just temporarily. No, Trevor. Jessica left because you can't support your family. If you get her back by using my money, what happens when I stop giving you money? She leaves again? I'll figure something out by then. You've been saying that for 10 years. After Trevor lost the house, he moved into a studio apartment across town. He got a job at a call center, something with regular hours and a steady, if modest, paycheck. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work. Jessica and the kids stayed with her parents. The divorce proceedings were messy and expensive, with both sides hiring lawyers they couldn't afford. Through all of this, I maintained my boundaries. No emergency loans, no temporary assistance, no bailouts of any kind. It was hard, especially when I thought about Emma and Jake dealing with their parents' divorce, but I knew that caving now would just restart the cycle. The turning point came in June. I was having dinner at a restaurant downtown when I saw Trevor at a corner table. He was with a woman I didn't recognize, someone pretty and well-dressed who was laughing at something he'd said. For a moment, I was angry. Here he was, taking some woman out for an expensive dinner while claiming he was broke. But then I noticed something. Trevor looked different, healthier. He'd gained back the weight he'd lost. His clothes were clean and pressed, and there was something in his posture that I hadn't seen in years. Confidence. Our eyes met across the restaurant. He said something to the woman, then walked over to my table. Baylor. Trevor. Can I sit down for a minute? I gestured to the empty chair across from me. He sat down and folded his hands on the table. I owe you an apology. I waited. Actually, I owe you a lot of apologies. And probably some money, but we both know I can't pay that back right now. What's changed? Everything. Losing the house, losing Jessica and the kids, having to move into that crappy apartment and work at the call center. It was horrible. But it was also the best thing that ever happened to me. How so? Because for the first time in my adult life, I had to figure things out for myself. No safety net. No big brother to call when things got tough. Just me and my problems. Trevor looked back at the woman at the corner table, who was patiently waiting for him to return. That's Sarah. She's an accountant. We met at work. She doesn't know about all the stuff with you and the money and everything. She thinks I'm just a normal guy who works at a call center and lives in a studio apartment. Isn't that what you are? Trevor smiled, the first genuine smile I'd seen from him in years. Yeah, it is. And you know what? It's not so bad. The work is steady, the pay is decent, and I'm not constantly stressed about money because I'm living within my means. What about Jessica and the kids? The divorce will be final next month. Jessica and I are doing better as co-parents than we ever did as spouses. The kids are adjusting. Emma's in a community center dance program that costs $20 a month instead of $200. Jake's playing in a community soccer league that's free. They're happy. Trevor reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. He counted out 4 $20 bills and placed them on the table. This is all I can afford right now, but I want to start paying you back. $80 a month until I've repaid everything I owe you. I looked at the money on the table. At $80 a month, it would take Trevor about 80 years to pay back what he owed me. Keep it, I said, pushing the bills back toward him. Take Sarah out for a nice dinner. Trevor's eyes filled with tears. Baylor, You don't owe me money, Trevor. You owe me an apology. And respect. And maybe we could try being actual brothers instead of whatever dysfunctional relationship we had before. I'd like that. We shook hands across the table, and for the first time in months, I felt like I had my brother back. The family slowly began to heal over the following months. Mom and Dad, who had initially blamed me for Trevor's downfall, gradually came to understand that I'd done him a favor by forcing him to stand on his own feet. Trevor's transformation from entitled mooch to responsible adult was impossible to ignore. Christmas that year was different. We had dinner at Mom and Dad's house, all of us together. But this time, Trevor brought a bottle of wine and a homemade dessert. He didn't ask for money. He didn't hint about financial problems. He just enjoyed being with his family. Emma and Jake were there too, shuttling between their parents' houses in the new normal of joint custody. They seemed happier than I'd seen them in years, probably because their parents weren't constantly fighting about money. Uncle Baylor, Emma said as we were opening presents. Thank you for the dance shoes. I'd bought her a pair of ballet slippers for her community center classes. They weren't expensive, but she acted like they were made of gold. You're welcome, sweetheart. Daddy says you helped him become a better person. Is that true? I looked at Trevor, who who was helping Jake assemble a new Lego set. Your daddy helped himself become a better person. I just stopped making it so easy for him to avoid growing up. I don't understand. You will when you're older. As I drove home that night, I reflected on the past year. It had been hard, probably the hardest year of my adult life. There had been moments when I'd questioned whether I was doing the right thing, moments when I'd nearly caved and sent money to ease some crisis or another. But seeing Trevor now, genuinely happy and self-sufficient for the first time in his adult life, I knew I'd made the right choice. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is refuse to enable their weaknesses. My phone buzzed with a text from Trevor. Thanks for dinner tonight, and thanks for everything else. Love you, bro. I smiled and typed back. Love you too. See you next week for Jake's soccer game. It was a small thing, making plans to see each other that didn't involve money or emergencies. But after 10 years of being treated like an ATM, it felt revolutionary. I'd finally gotten my brother back, and more importantly, I'd gotten myself back. The best part about setting boundaries wasn't just that it forced Trevor to grow up. It was that it freed me to start living my own life. With an extra $1,000 a month staying in my account instead of flowing to Trevor's family, I was able to make down payment on a house, start dating seriously for the first time in years, and even begin planning for my own future instead of constantly managing someone else's crisis. Sometimes being a good brother means saying no. It took me 32 years to learn that lesson, but better late than never. My golden sister told me, "You don't even need that apartment, you're single. I'm pregnant, I deserve it." I refused, and now her life is falling apart. Hey everyone, I've been reading posts here for years, but never thought I'd write one. Figured I'd share my story because it's been building since I was a kid. I'm the older brother, 28, and my younger sister, now 26, has always been the golden child. Let me take you through the whole story from the top. Here is the thing. My parents had me when they were still figuring out their careers. 2 years later, my sister was born. From the beginning, it was clear who the favorite was. My parents were polite to me, but when my sister arrived, it felt like everything revolved around her. People noticed it too. Relatives would comment on how much attention she got, but my parents would just laugh it off. As kids, the favoritism was obvious. My birthdays were small with a homemade cake, while my sisters had rented venues and big guest lists. When I asked why, my dad said, "You're older now." I was 7, she was 5. Toys were the same. I saved months for a skateboard. She mentioned wanting a bike and had one by the weekend. My mom's excuse was always, "She's younger, let her enjoy it." School made it clear too. I brought home good grades and got a quick, good job. My sister brought home average work or a drawing and it went on the fridge. I won first place at a science fair. My dad skipped it for work. She had one line in a school play, and both parents left work early to watch. My mom's reason, she gets nervous, she needs support. I was a good kid, stayed out of trouble, did well in school, helped at home, but my parents acted like I didn't need attention. I was fine, while my sister was always the special one, or baby. I constantly heard, "You're older, you should understand," or "She's younger, let her have it," like my only job was to support her. By the time I hit middle school, the pattern was pretty much set. My sister was the center of everything. I was just there, expected to help out and not make things complicated. At that age, you start noticing the little things more, and there were plenty. In 7th grade, I wanted to enter a science competition and build a small solar-powered car, but there was a fee and supplies needed. When I asked at dinner, my dad said it was too expensive, and my mom suggested I skip it. A week later, my sister signed up for a dance camp that cost twice as much, and they paid without hesitation. I ended up making a rough version from scraps in the garage. I couldn't compete, but my teacher was impressed I tried. That's when I knew if I wanted something, I'd have to do it myself. Home life wasn't just about money, though. It was the way they treated us. If my sister made a mess, I was asked to clean it. If something got lost, it was assumed I was responsible. One time, she left a juice box open on the couch, and it stained the fabric. My mom called me from my room and told me to clean it up. I said it wasn't me. She said, "I know, but she's tired. Just do it." That was normal. She also had this habit of talking back. She'd argue, roll her eyes, slam doors. My parents called it attitude. If I did something like that, it was called disrespect, and I'd lose privileges. There were nights when my dad would pull me aside and say things like, "She's your little sister. You have to keep the peace. Don't provoke her." It didn't matter who started it. It was always on me to smooth things over. At school, I started noticing how different my life was compared to some friends. A buddy of mine had parents who came to his basketball games, helped with projects, asked how school was going. At our house, most conversations with me were instructions. Take out the trash, Help your sister with homework. Don't stay out too late. With my sister, it was always questions and praise. How was your day? What do you want for dinner? You did so well. By 15, I stopped expecting anything from my parents and focused on myself. I mowed lawns, did odd jobs, saved, and bought my own things. My sister still got everything handed to her and even joked, "I'm the favorite." My parents would just smile. I stayed quiet, knowing speaking up wouldn't change it. By the time high school started, I just stopped asking for things. When the school had field trips, I usually didn't go because I knew the answer would be no. Once, the class went to a science center out of town. It cost maybe $25. I didn't even bring it up. I used to think maybe money was tight, but then I'd see my parents take my sister shopping for clothes or gadgets. One time, I overheard my mom on the phone with a family friend. She said, "He's fine. He doesn't need much. She's the one we have to focus on. She's more sensitive." I guess that was how they saw me. Someone who didn't need help or attention. But I did. I just learned not to expect it. By sophomore year, I had started finding ways to earn my own money. I'd shovel snow, mow lawns, walk dogs. It wasn't much, but it gave me some control. If I wanted a book or a game, I'd buy it myself. My parents thought it was responsible and told people they were proud I was independent. They didn't see it was because I had no other choice. Meanwhile, my sister kept getting whatever she asked for. If she wanted to join a new club, they'd pay. If she wanted to quit something, they'd say it was fine. She liked showing off too. She'd tell me, "Mom and Dad said I'm special." I'd shrug it off, but it stuck. One last thing from that time. There was a career fair at school. I wanted to go because some tech companies were coming. It was a Saturday event. I asked my dad for a ride. He said he was busy taking my sister to a friend's party. My mom said to just take the bus. I went anyway, but I missed the first part because the bus route was slow. When I got home, my sister was talking about how fun the party was, and my parents were all smiles listening to her. I didn't even bother mentioning the fair. By the end of high school, I had stopped expecting them to be there for anything that mattered to me. I kept my head down, worked when I could, and planned to get out as soon as possible. By the time I finished high school, I already knew I couldn't count on my parents for much. They'd paid some of my basic school expenses, but anything extra I needed came from my own pocket. My sister had just turned 16 and already had a used car my parents bought her. When I asked if I could borrow it for prom, the answer was no, because she might need it. I ended up getting a ride from a friend. It didn't bother me much at that point. I'd learned that I had to handle things myself. I got into a decent state college. Nothing fancy, but solid. And it was in another city, which was important to me. I wanted space. My parents made a big deal about how they couldn't afford much help and how I needed to be responsible. I was offered some financial aid and a small scholarship. They paid my first semester's books. But everything else, housing, food, transportation, I covered with a mix of part-time jobs and savings I had from mowing lawns and doing odd jobs in high school. My sister got a big good luck dinner when she started community college later. When I left for school, it was just a quick goodbye. The first year was rough, but it taught me a lot. I worked evenings at a coffee shop near campus. On weekends, I picked up shifts at a bookstore. My grades stayed solid, but it meant I couldn't do a lot of parties or hang out like some classmates. I didn't mind. It felt good to know that everything I had, I earned. I budgeted tightly. I kept a notebook of every expense, down to the smallest snack. When I wanted something like a new phone or a better laptop, I'd plan months ahead. I learned quickly that money disappears fast if you don't track it. Meanwhile, my sister was still the center of my parents' attention. She switched programs twice and eventually decided school wasn't for her. She lived at home rent-free. They bought her a newer car because the first one wasn't reliable. I heard about it when my mom called to tell me she needed help setting up the Bluetooth. It didn't surprise me. At family dinners during breaks, she'd complain about being bored or wanting to travel. My parents would nod and say things like, "We'll figure something out." When I mentioned I was taking 15 credits and working 25 hours a week, they'd just say, "You've always been good at managing things." Sophomore year, I found a better job. One of my professors helped me land a position as an assistant in a small tech company downtown. It paid better than the coffee shop, and the owner didn't mind my class schedule. I kept the bookstore shifts for weekends. Most days I left my apartment at 7 a.m. and got back after dark, but my savings grew. I opened my first real bank account and started putting money into a small emergency fund. I remember sitting at my tiny desk, proud of the $500 I managed to keep untouched. It wasn't much, but it was mine. The lack of family support didn't bother me anymore. It became normal. I rarely called home unless it was for birthdays or holidays. My parents would ask how school was going, then switched to talking about my sister's latest plans. She got a job at a boutique once and quit after a month because she didn't like the hours. My mom told me she just needs to find her passion. I was tempted to point out that I didn't exactly love working double shifts, but I kept quiet. By junior year, I'd streamlined everything. I moved into a cheaper apartment with 2 roommates, sold my old bike, and bought a used car with cash I'd saved. It wasn't fancy, but it was reliable. Every dollar counted. I picked up freelance work online. Simple data entry, some tutoring, anything that paid. I also started reading about investing. Nothing big, just basics about saving, budgeting, and compound interest. I didn't have a lot, but I liked the idea of being prepared. When my sister turned 18, my parents threw her a big party. She got a new laptop and a week-long trip to the coast with her friends, paid for by them. I sent her a simple message saying, "Happy birthday." No party for me when I turned 20. I celebrated by working a shift and grabbing takeout with a friend. It didn't hurt. It was just the way things were. My parents had different standards for us. They always had. I just made sure to stay focused. By the time I was close to graduating, I'd saved enough to cover a deposit for an apartment and had paid off my small student loans. I didn't tell my parents right away because I didn't want to hear comparisons or comments. When I did mention it during a call, my dad said, "Good. Now maybe you can help your sister when she needs it." That line stuck with me. It wasn't meant as a joke. They genuinely saw me as the backup plan for her. That's when I decided that whatever I built, it would be for me. I wouldn't let their priorities dictate mine. After graduation, I stayed in the same city where I went to school. The tech company where I worked part-time offered me a full-time role. It wasn't huge money, but for a 22-year-old just out of school, it was solid. I moved into a better apartment with 1 roommate, kept my car running, and started putting money away every month. I had a plan. Keep grinding, save, and eventually buy a place of my own. At home, nothing changed. My sister, now 20, was still living with my parents. She didn't go back to school after dropping out of community college. She had short-term jobs here and there, quit when she didn't like the hours, and complained about not being supported enough. My parents treated her like she was under pressure. Anytime I called, the conversation ended up about her. "Your sister is figuring things out. She's stressed. Be nice to her. She's sensitive." The rudeness really started showing around this time. When I visited for holidays, she acted like I was a guest in her house. She'd leave her stuff everywhere, make sarcastic comments about my clothes or car. "Wow, you're still driving that old thing? Do you even have time to live working all the time?" If I ignored her, she'd push. "Why are you so quiet? Too good for us now?" One Thanksgiving, I brought a small basket of food and drinks. Nothing fancy, just something to contribute. She rolled her eyes and said, "Thanks, but Mom already covered everything. You really don't have to show off." My parents didn't say a word to her. My dad actually said to me, "Don't get offended. She jokes like that." When she started dating a guy, things got worse. She bragged about how supportive he was, how they were going to do big things. At one dinner, she made a point to say, "He doesn't just work all the time like some people." My mom laughed. My dad added, "She just wants you to loosen up." I kept my distance, but I noticed the pattern. Anything good I did, they minimized. Anything she did, they magnified. Around that time, I got my first promotion. My manager called me into his office, offered me a team lead position. I was proud of it. I set up a small dinner with close friends and sent an invite to my parents and sister. They said they'd try to come. The day came. I booked a nice spot. Nothing extravagant, but I wanted to celebrate. Everyone showed except my family. I called my mom after. She said, "Oh, sorry, your sister got a new certification and we went out with her." It was some online class certificate, nothing career-changing, but they acted like it was a major milestone. My dad said, "You know how she gets." We couldn't say no. That night I realized I was done expecting them to show up for me. Despite the family drama, work was good. I kept moving up, saving more, and looking for ways to grow. I learned to avoid unnecessary spending, started reading more about money, investments, and property. My weekends were split between relaxing, seeing friends, and checking listings. My long-term goal was simple: buy my own place before I hit 28. The calls from my parents stayed the same. If they reached out, it was usually about my sister. "Can you help her with her resume? She needs advice about a loan. She's thinking of starting a business. Maybe you can guide her." If I said I was busy, they'd get cold. Once, my mom said, "Don't forget where you came from." I didn't argue. I just kept doing my own thing. During one visit home, I finally called them out. My sister had been complaining about her job, saying she deserved better pay. My mom turned to me and said, "Maybe you can talk to your boss about hiring her." I said, She doesn't have the experience. I worked for this. My dad frowned and said, "Don't be selfish. Family helps family." My sister smirked. "You act like you're some big deal. It's just a job." That night, I drove back to my apartment and made a decision. I'd never let them decide what I owed. I wasn't rude about it. I just stopped sharing details. I didn't tell them how much I made, where I invested, or what I planned. I kept everything short when they asked. It wasn't anger, just strategy. By 25, I was in a better spot financially than I expected. I had a decent savings cushion, a reliable car, and no debt. My sister still lived at home. She had a newer car my parents helped buy, and they covered part of her expenses. She'd make comments online about being independent, but I knew the truth. She later totaled the car. When my parents hinted again that I should look out for her, I just nodded. I wasn't going to argue. I had bigger plans, and I didn't need their approval. Every sarcastic comment and every ignored moment just made it clearer. They weren't going to change, but neither was I. By the time I was 26, I had a good routine. Work was steady and my savings finally looked like something. I kept my expenses low and said no to a lot of extras. My friends joked that I was stingy, but I knew what I was doing. I wanted to own something before 30. I started looking seriously at places. I spent weekends checking listings, meeting agents, and running numbers. I wasn't looking for anything huge, just a clean, solid apartment in a decent area. After months of searching, I found it. 2 bedrooms, plenty of light, close to work. The price was fair and I could handle the down payment. Signing those papers felt like crossing a finish line. I didn't tell my family right away. I waited until I had the keys in my hand. Then I sent a group text with a photo of me in front of the building. Finally got my own place. Took a while, but here it is. The replies were predictable. My mom said, "Congrats. When are you having us over?" My dad wrote, "Good job. Your sister will want to see it too." My sister's response, "Finally. Took you long enough." I invited them for a weekend lunch. I cooked, kept it simple, and gave them a tour. My mom immediately started talking about how bright and open it was and how perfect it would be for a young family. My dad asked about the second bedroom, guest room or office. Before I could answer, my sister jumped in. "It's obviously wasted space. Imagine a crib in there." I laughed. "Good thing I bought it for me, not for you to play dollhouse." She rolled her eyes. "You don't even have anyone. It's just you. Kind of selfish to keep a whole place like this to yourself." My dad gave me a look like I should ignore it. I didn't. "Yeah, I worked 2 jobs and skipped vacations, so I could selfishly buy something with my own money. Shocking, right?" My mom changed the subject, but I caught the tone. They were impressed, but it was like they couldn't give me the full credit. They asked about furniture, costs, and then my dad said, "Well, at least it's in a good spot. Easy to sell when you upgrade. Maybe your sister can use it if she needs something short-term." I laughed again. "Sure, if she's got market rent and a signed lease." They didn't like that. My mom said, "You're so sarcastic. We're just saying families help each other." "Exactly," I said. I helped myself because no one else was offering. They went quiet after that. Lunch was fine, but the comments didn't stop. My sister would send texts like, "When I get my own place, it's going to be bigger," or "Nice apartment. Could use more color though." I just replied with thumbs up or said, "Great. Let me know when that happens." Months later, at another family dinner, things heated up again. My sister was talking about how expensive things were. She complained about rent, gas, and said, "Must be nice having a free place." "It's not free," I said. "Banks love getting paid every month." My dad jumped in. "She just means you don't have to worry about moving. It's easier for you." "Yeah," I said. "It's easier when you plan ahead and don't quit every job you get." My sister glared. "You think you're better because you bought a box with windows?" I smiled. "Better than complaining about a box I don't own." My mom told us to stop. "You two are always at each other's throats. Your sister is just stressed." "She's always stressed," I said. "Maybe that's why you keep paying for her stuff." My dad said sharply, "Enough. We help her because she needs it." "Right," I said. "And I manage because no one helped me." "Got it." The room went quiet. My sister muttered something about me being selfish. I just said, "If selfish means not depending on mom and dad at 24, guilty as charged." Even with the tension, I didn't ask them for anything, didn't bring up my finances. I focused on my job. Things were going well. Meanwhile, my sister kept drifting. She had a string of short-term jobs and posted online about how hard the economy was. Every time I visited home, my parents talked about her plans, her big dreams, and barely asked about mine. I didn't care anymore. I knew my lane. But the hints didn't stop. My mom would say, "When you settle down, maybe your sister could stay at your place for a while." My dad joked, "Hope you got a spare key." My sister laughed, "Yeah, you should keep it clean for when I need it." I kept the same answer every time. Not happening. I worked for it. One night, my dad called out of the blue. My sister needed a place to stay after a breakup. He asked if she could crash at my apartment, just for a few weeks. I said no. "She's your sister," he said. "She's also an adult," I replied. "She's got 2 parents and a car. She'll be fine." He didn't like it. "You've changed." "No," I said. "I just stopped being the backup plan." I could tell it stung, but I didn't feel bad. I was clear from day one. What I built was mine. They had years to treat me like family. They chose to treat me like support staff. Now I was just giving them the same energy back. Months later, I had everything running the way I wanted. Work was steady, I had savings, my place was fully furnished and felt like mine. My sister, meanwhile, was still at home. She had gone through 2 jobs and a short relationship that ended badly. My parents kept treating her like she was fragile, while I was the responsible one. Then came the family barbecue. It was late summer. Everyone was there. Parents, aunts, uncles, cousins. I showed up with some drinks and sides. My sister arrived last, arm around her boyfriend. The whole family crowded her like she was the guest of honor. Halfway through, she stood up with a big grin. "I have news," she said, raising her glass. "We're having a baby." Everyone cheered, hugged her, congratulated the boyfriend. I walked over and said, "Congrats. Hope you're ready for no sleep." She smirked. "Well, I'll have a lot of help, right?" I didn't think much of it then. The night went on. Then my aunt asked, "So are you still doing a wedding?" My sister said yes, but the timeline is tricky now. She turned to me and smiled too sweetly. "Actually, this is the perfect time to bring this up. I've been thinking about your apartment. It would be the perfect place for us. Close to everything, plenty of space for the baby." I almost laughed, thinking it was a joke. "Good thing I bought it for me, not for lease." She frowned. "I'm serious. We can't stay with mom and dad forever. I need a safe place. And you have that second room you're not even using." "You're right," I said. "It's for my office and my stuff. Crazy how people use rooms in their own homes." She rolled her eyes. "Come on. You don't even have a family. It's just you. This would really help me out. I worked 2 jobs for years to get it. Maybe you could try that method." My mom stepped in. "She's asking because she needs it. You're single. You can wait a little while to get another one." I looked at her. "Wait, you want me to hand over the place I bought because she's pregnant?" My dad said, "She's starting a family. That's more important right now. You'll understand when you have kids." I shook my head. "So all those years I was on my own, working, paying rent, saving, none of that counted? But she gets pregnant and suddenly my work belongs to her?" My sister crossed her arms. "Don't make it a big deal. You can rent somewhere else for a year or 2. We'll take good care of your place." I laughed. "Yeah, because you're famous for taking good care of things. Like that job you quit after 3 weeks? Or the car you totaled?" "Wow," she said loudly. "So you're going to hold that over me forever? I thought family helped each other." "They do," I said, "when it's a 2-way street, not when it's a 1-way handout." My mom's face tightened. "You always have to bring up the past. She's asking for help during a hard time." "Hard time?" I said. "They made a choice. I didn't sign anything. I'm not their safety net." My dad's voice rose. "Don't talk like that. She's your sister. Show some respect." I stood up. Respect goes both ways. Respect my work, my money, my home. The table went quiet. My sister started to tear up. "You're so selfish. You've always been like this. It's just one thing, and you can't do it for me." "One thing? You've had everything since you were a kid. The parties, the car, the attention. I got lectures. Now you want my place?" "Number." She got angry. "Fine, keep your stupid apartment. Don't expect us at your next big moment. We won't bother." "Trust me," I said. "I stopped expecting you years ago." My mom muttered something about me being cold. My dad shook his head like I was a disappointment. I picked up my stuff. "I came here to eat a burger, not to be shamed for owning something. I'll see you around." On the way out, my sister called after me. "You're going to regret this when you're alone." I turned and said, "Better alone than broken bitter." That was the last time I tried to be polite about it. The texts started coming the next day. My dad sent, "She cried all night. I hope you're happy." My mom wrote, "We raised you better than this." My sister sent a wall of messages about how I ruined her pregnancy joy. I didn't respond. 2 days later, my sister called saying, "Fine, I don't want it anymore. But you could at least give us money to get a place." I laughed. You want me to pay you because I said no to giving you my home. That's creative. She hung up. After that, the family group chat turned sour. My parents acted distant. They hinted that I'd turned arrogant. I didn't care. I had my job, my savings, my space. I'd worked for it. I wasn't going to hand it over because someone else couldn't manage theirs. After the gathering, I decided to draw a hard line. I didn't respond to any more guilt texts. My sister stayed mad. My parents were cold. At first, I thought maybe things would cool off. Instead, they doubled down. They started talking to relatives about how selfish I was. A cousin sent me a message saying, "What's going on? Your mom said you wouldn't let your sister stay with you." I explained once. I bought my own home after years of working. They think it's theirs, not happening. Most of my cousins actually sided with me. A few said, "Yeah, your parents have always babied her." It was nice to hear, but I didn't need validation. Work was my safe zone. I put in more hours, took on projects, and got noticed. A few months later, my manager called me in. Another promotion. It came with a raise and more flexibility. I decided to celebrate, but this time I didn't invite my parents or my sister. I threw a small party with friends and a couple of supportive relatives. Everyone else sent congratulations. My parents didn't even text. My sister posted online about families forgetting who matters, which I ignored. Then things shifted. My parents started hinting at money problems. I heard through my cousin that they were covering a lot of my sister's bills. She quit another job during her pregnancy, said it was too stressful. They were paying part of her rent, her car insurance, and covering hospital visits. My dad even dipped into retirement savings. I stayed out of it. Every time I got a vague text like, "Your sister's having a hard time," I replied with, "Hope she figures it out." A month before the baby was due, my mom called me for the first time in weeks. She asked, "Could you just loan your sister a little? Just until things settle." I said, "You mean give her money so she doesn't have to manage her own life?" Number. She said, "You've changed. You used to care." I said, "I learned who cared about me. It wasn't you." She hung up. The baby came. Everyone acted like it was a royal event. I sent a small gift and a short message. "Congrats, hope the baby's healthy." My sister replied, "Wow, that's it?" I left it on red. As months passed, it was clear things weren't smooth for them. The boyfriend had spotty work. Bills piled up. They moved in with my parents. The wedding plans fizzled once money got tight. I found this out through my aunt, who told me, "Your folks are stressed. Your dad is covering everything." I just said they made their choices. I wasn't gloating, it was just a fact. Then came the moment that sealed it for me. My dad called again, his tone softer. He said, "We might have been too hard on you. We didn't realize how much you did on your own." He asked if I could help with a small amount each month until they got back on their feet. I almost laughed. "So, after all these years of me hearing, 'You're fine, you can handle it,' now I'm supposed to carry you? No thanks." He said, "It's family." I said, "Exactly. Family supports, not drains." I learned that from you. That ended the call. The real satisfaction came later. My company had a big end-of-year event. They highlighted some employees for major contributions. I was one of them. My photo was up on a screen. My name mentioned in front of the entire company and some local press. They gave me a sizable bonus. I posted one photo online, just me smiling with the award. I didn't tag anyone. The comments rolled in. Friends, co-workers, old classmates. My sister didn't say a word. My mom liked the post but never commented. My dad stayed silent. When I saw them at a holiday dinner months later, the energy was different. They were polite, quieter than usual. My sister barely spoke to me. My dad asked about work in a neutral tone. My mom talked mostly about the baby. No one mentioned the apartment. No one asked for money. It was like they knew the answer already. Before leaving, my sister muttered, "You must feel pretty proud." I said, "Not proud, just glad I stopped waiting for anyone's approval." My dad shook his head slightly but didn't argue. My mom hugged me quickly and said, "Drive safe." That was it. Looking back, I don't think I ever got the apology I deserved. But I got something better. Distance, control, and proof that I could build everything without them. The kid who was told to understand while his sister got all the attention turned into the man who didn't need their attention at all. They're still the same people. She's still entitled. They're still enabling. But none of it matters now. I have my place, my job, and my peace. When I lock my door at night, I remember that every single piece of furniture, every bill paid, every inch of that apartment came from my own work. That's the only approval I'll ever need. My brother sent me fancy chocolates for my birthday. He called me an hour later. "Did you eat them yet?" I said, "I gave them to your wife and kids." Turned out the chocolates were poisoned. Hey Reddit, my mom spent my whole life treating my brother like the golden child and me like the spare. I built my own life anyway and learned to live without her approval. I thought that was the end of it, until my brother sent me a birthday gift that turned into a nightmare. Before I get into that, let me start from the beginning. The thing about being the spare is you learn early that nothing you do will ever matter as much. I was standing in my mother's kitchen on a Tuesday afternoon, 35 years old, watching her fawn over a photo my brother Tyler sent from some restaurant in Buckhead. He was holding a wine glass, grinning like he invented happiness. "Look at this," she said, shoving her phone in my face. "Tyler took Amanda to that new French place. Isn't that romantic? I was there because I fixed her garbage disposal. Took me 40 minutes. Got grease all over my work shirt. I'm a wind turbine technician. Spend half my life up towers making sure the blades don't fall off. Good money, honest work, requires actual skills." My mother hadn't mentioned the disposal once. "That's great, Mom," I said, washing my hands in the sink I just fixed. "You and Rachel should try new things too, Caleb. You're always so serious." Rachel, my wife, was currently at home with our two daughters. Leah was 7. Sophie was 5. Rachel had been teaching them fractions using pizza slices, because that's what actual parenting looks like. We went to the botanical gardens last weekend. The girls loved it. My mother waved her hand like I was missing the point. "That's different. I mean something adult, something cultured." Tyler hadn't taken his kids anywhere in 3 months. His boys were 7 and 5, same ages as my girls. Ethan and Lucas asked if they could come back soon because Tyler was always busy with work stuff. Work stuff meant online poker and sports betting. Had for about 2 years now. Tyler's doing so well at the pharmaceutical company. Regional director at 35. Can you believe it? Tyler was 35. Same as me. We were twins actually. Fraternal. He came out first. That 12 minutes had defined our entire lives. As kids, Tyler got the new bike and I got the used one. His college was fully funded, mine wasn't. The pattern never changed. Good for him. "I need to get home," I said. "Rachel's making dinner." "Oh, before you go." She opened a drawer, pulled out an envelope. "Give this to Tyler when you see him. Check for the boys' summer camp. Tyler's house cost $470,000. Mine cost $210. He didn't need help with camp." "Sure," I said, taking the envelope. I drove home thinking about disposals and envelopes and how favoritism warps people into shapes they can't undo. Rachel was in the kitchen when I walked in. The girls were at the table doing homework. "Daddy's home," Sophie announced. I kissed the top of her head, then Leah's, then Rachel's. Routine. "How was Grandma's?" Rachel asked, eyeing my shirt. "Fixed the disposal. Got volunteered to be a courier." She saw the envelope. Knew immediately. "Summer camp for the boys." Rachel didn't say anything. She had been watching this pattern for 9 years. "Your dad's estate stuff came today," she said, nodding toward the counter. "My father died 4 months ago. Heart attack. Left behind $780,000 in assets that I was untangling as executor. Tyler wanted to be co-executor. My mother pushed for it. My father's lawyer shut it down. The estate was split 50-50, but probate was dragging because of an IRS tax issue. Could be another 8 months. Tyler had been calling twice a week asking about updates, acting like I was personally delaying his payout. I picked up the mail. More forms. More waiting. We ate dinner, talked about school. Sophie was reading chapter books. Leah's science project got an A. Normal life. Later that night, Rachel showed me Tyler's latest social media post. Another restaurant, another wine glass. Living our best life. Amanda was in the photo, smiling the way people do when cameras are pointed at them. "How much do you think that cost?" Rachel asked. "More than he has." Tyler was in trouble. I had known for months. The expensive dinners he couldn't afford. The new watch. The way he changed subjects when anyone asked about work details. My mother saw what she wanted to see. I saw a man drowning and taking expensive photos of the water. My birthday fell on a Saturday in early March. 35. Not a milestone. Rachel made pancakes. The girls drew cards with crayons. Both got taped to the fridge next to last year's versions. My mother called at 9. Said she was coming by later with cake. Asked if Tyler and Amanda were invited. I said sure. "Oh, and Caleb," she added. "Tyler sent you something special. You're going to love it." The package arrived at 11. Courier service. Signature required. The box was black with gold trim. Inside were 24 chocolates arranged in individual paper cups. Each one had a design on top. Handmade work from some Atlanta boutique. There was a card. "Happy birthday, brother. Enjoy the good stuff. T." Rachel looked over my shoulder. "Those are fancy." "Too fancy," I said. I was weird about gifts. Growing up, Tyler would borrow anything he liked, and Mom would tell me to stop being dramatic. So I learned, if something is mine, it stays mine. Sophie appeared at my elbow. "Can I have one?" Normally, I would have said no on instinct. But this was my daughter, so of course I would share with her. One piece, I said. You too, Leah. Each pick one. Both girls chose chocolates with white swirls, took small bites, smiled. Good? Really good, Daddy. Letting my kids taste one didn't count. I still wouldn't hand the whole box to anyone else. Rachel cut in. Okay, that's enough. Let Daddy decide what to do with the rest. I closed the box. Tyler hadn't sent me a birthday gift in 5 years. This probably cost $300. We should give these to Amanda and the boys, I said. They'll actually appreciate them. Rachel raised an eyebrow. You sure? I ate half a Snickers this morning. That's my speed. The plan formed easy. Tyler and Amanda were coming over later. I would hand the box to Amanda directly. My mother arrived first. Alone. Said Tyler and Amanda were running late. She set a store-bought cake on the counter, noticed the chocolate box. Oh, you opened them. Aren't they beautiful? They're nice, I said. I'm giving them to Amanda when she gets here. My mother's face shifted. What? No, those are for you. I don't like fancy chocolate. Amanda will enjoy them more. Caleb, that's rude. She wasn't worried about me. She was worried it would look bad, like Tyler's gift wasn't good enough. Rachel was watching this from the living room, knew where it was going. My mother started again, but I cut her off. Mom, it's my birthday. I'm giving them to Amanda. That's final. She went quiet. That disappointed quiet. Tyler and Amanda arrived 20 minutes later with the boys. Tyler was wearing a new leather jacket. Probably cost $400. Amanda was smiling, but it was tight. Ethan and Lucas ran to the living room where Leah and Sophie were watching a movie. Happy birthday, man, Tyler said, clapping my shoulder. You get my gift? Yeah, thanks. Actually, I'm giving them to Amanda. I handed her the box. These are too fancy for me. You guys will appreciate them more. Amanda took the box, surprised. Caleb, you don't have to. I want to. Enjoy them with the boys. Tyler's face did something complicated. You didn't even try one? The girls had a bite each, said they were great. But I'm not a chocolate guy. He was staring at the box in Amanda's hands. Right. Yeah, sure. My mother jumped in. I told him it was rude, but he wouldn't listen. It's fine, Mom, Tyler said, voice flat. Let him do what he wants. We moved past it. Cut cake, sang. The girls were happy. Tyler was quiet through the whole thing. Kept checking his phone. Stepped outside twice for calls. Amanda opened the chocolate box around 3 p.m. Offered pieces to the boys. Ethan and Lucas each took one. Then Amanda wrinkled her nose. These taste weird. Tyler froze, just for a beat. Then smiled too fast. Weird how? Metallic, like pennies. Ethan, the 7-year-old, made a face. Mine tastes funny too. Tyler stood up. Calm. Too calm. Stop eating. Those might have melted in transit. Chocolate gets weird when it overheats. He moved toward Amanda. Reached for the box. Let me check the label. Amanda held the box away. They're fine, just a little off. Tyler tried to slip the box into his jacket while talking. Smooth. Practiced. Amanda caught his wrist. What are you doing? I need to check the order. Make sure they didn't send expired ones. His voice was calm, but his hand was shaking. Where's the card? I need the order number. The urgency didn't match the casual words. I stood. Tyler, what's going on? He looked at me. At the boys. At Amanda holding the box. Something behind his eyes cracked for just a second. Then he turned to Ethan. You okay, buddy? You look nauseous. Ethan looked confused. I'm fine. No, you're not, I can tell. Tyler was already grabbing jackets. Amanda, we need to go. Urgent care. Now. He's not sick, Amanda said. He will be. Trust me. We're leaving. Tyler herded them toward the door. Amanda was protesting. The boys were confused. My mother was asking what was wrong. Tyler didn't answer anyone. Just got his family out the door and into the car. We heard him peel out of the driveway. My mother was the first to speak. He's just stressed. Work's been hard. Rachel was looking at me. I was looking at the chocolate box Amanda left on the counter. What just happened? I asked. Nobody answered. An hour later, I was helping clean up when my phone rang. Tyler's number. I stepped outside to answer. Yeah? Caleb. His voice was shaking, barely holding together. The chocolates. Did anyone eat them? Besides Amanda and the boys? My stomach dropped. The girls each had a small bite. Why? How much? How big? Tiny. Maybe the size of a dime each. Tyler, what's going on? Silence. Then a sound like someone was choking. Tyler? Get them to emergency. Right now. My blood went cold. What? Why? Just go. Did they swallow or spit it out? Swallowed. Tyler, what the hell is happening? Oh God. Oh God, Caleb, you never share gifts. You always follow the rules. I counted on that. What are you talking about? The chocolates. They're not safe. You need to get Sophie and Leah to a hospital. Right now. Not safe how? Just go. Now. I'm taking the boys to Emory. Meet us there. He hung up. I stood there for 5 seconds, phone in my hand. Then I moved. Rachel! I was back inside, grabbing keys. We're going to the hospital, right now. What? Why? Tyler just called. Said the chocolates aren't safe. Said to get the girls to emergency. Rachel's face drained. What do you mean, not safe? I don't know. But he's taking the boys to Emory. We're going, now. The girls said they felt fine. That somehow made it worse, because if Tyler was right, the symptoms could hit later. Rachel was on the phone with our pediatrician, getting transferred to the emergency line, explaining about the chocolates. We got inside. At first, the triage nurse looked at me like I was overreacting. Then Rachel said the words, possible poisoning, and showed the box photos and the courier label. The nurse's face changed. They put both girls in a room, started IVS, drew blood, asked 100 questions. Do you still have the chocolates? The doctor asked. Yes, at home. We need them, right now. This is evidence of poisoning. Don't let anyone touch them. Police will retrieve them. Rachel took photos. Box, card, courier label, everything. Time-stamped. My mother's at the house, I said. She's not reliable. She enables my brother. The doctor nodded. Called hospital security. We're treating this as suspected intentional poisoning. Get police escort to retrieve evidence. Detective Richard Palmer from Major Crimes arrived 20 minutes later with a uniform. I gave them my address, keys, permission to enter. They told me my consent was enough for them to secure the box for now. The box is on the kitchen counter, black with gold trim. There's a card. Don't let my mother interfere. Palmer nodded. We'll handle it. They left to retrieve the evidence. Hospital staff directed us to another wing where Amanda was with both boys, both hooked to IVs, both pale and scared. The doctor sent the chocolates to the lab. Later that night, he came back with a face that made my stomach drop. We're treating this as suspected heavy metal poisoning based on the exposure and the taste description. We won't wait for confirmation to start treatment. Early the next morning, the confirmation arrived. Arsenic trioxide, high concentration, deliberately measured and dosed. The room spun. Deliberate, Rachel repeated. Someone put poison in these chocolates intentionally. This is attempted murder. Amanda appeared in the doorway, face wrecked. Who would do this? I didn't answer, because the answer was sitting in my chest like a stone. Tyler sent the chocolate. Tyler panicked when people ate them. Tyler called me asking if anyone ate them. Tyler knew. The police arrived an hour later. Detectives Richard Palmer and Lisa Ortiz from Major Crimes. They split us up for interviews. Palmer took me to a private room. Walked me through the day. I told him everything. The package, the card, Tyler's reaction, the phone call. Your brother called you an hour after you gave the chocolates away? Yeah. Asked if anyone ate them. Told me to get my daughters to the hospital. Did he say why? Said they weren't safe. That I needed to go immediately. Palmer wrote that down. Mr. Hayes, do you believe your brother sent you poisoned chocolates? I don't want to believe it. But yeah, I think he did. Why would he do that? I told him about the gambling, the probate delays, the way my mother enabled him. Palmer kept me another hour. When they let me go, I found Rachel in Sophie's room. They're okay, Rachel said quietly. Small doses. They're flushing their systems. They'll be home tomorrow. I sat down hard. I gave them those chocolates. You didn't know. I should have known. Tyler doesn't send gifts. He barely remembers my birthday. This was wrong from the start, and I didn't see it. Rachel looked at me. This isn't on you. This is on whoever put poison in chocolate and mailed it. And we both know who that was. Amanda walked in, face red and swollen. The boys are stable. They ate more than your girls. But they'll be okay. She sat, stared at the floor. Tyler won't answer his phone. I've called 50 times. He brought us here and then disappeared. Where does he go when he disappears? His office. Sometimes your mom's place. I don't know anymore. My phone buzzed. Text from my mother. Tyler's at my house. He's very upset. You need to fix this. I showed it to Rachel. She read it twice. Fix this? Is she serious? She's always serious. Amanda saw the text. I'm going over there. That's not a good idea, Rachel said. I don't care. He's going to explain this. Now. I stood. I'll go with you. Rachel, stay with the girls. Rachel grabbed my arm. Caleb, if he really did this, then I need to hear him say it. My mother's house was dark, except the kitchen light. Tyler's car was in the driveway. Amanda walked in first. I followed. My mother was at the kitchen table. Tyler was leaning against the counter. Where are the boys? Tyler asked Amanda. In the hospital. With IVs because they ate poison. He flinched. That wasn't supposed to happen. The room stopped. Amanda stepped closer. What did you just say? Tyler's eyes darted between us. I didn't mean it like that. Then how did you mean it? I asked. He wouldn't look at me. You were supposed to eat them, Caleb, not share them. You never share birthday gifts. My mother's voice cut in. Tyler, stop talking. No. Amanda's voice was ice. Keep talking. Explain how our children ended up in the hospital. It's the probate, Tyler said, words tumbling fast. I needed the money. I owe people. Bad people. They're not waiting 8 more months. Who do you owe? I asked. Loan sharks? Online operations? I'm down 400,000. They want it now. They've threatened Amanda, the boys. They know where we live. The number sat there like a grenade. You lost $400,000, Amanda repeated. I can win it back. I just need the inheritance. But Caleb's dragging his feet. I needed him out of the way. I didn't know it wouldn't work like that, he added, voice cracking. I thought if you were gone, the estate would release the money. Mom told me you were holding it back. My mother stood. He doesn't mean that. He's confused. Mom, stay out of this, I said. Don't talk to your mother that way, Tyler snapped. This is your fault. If you just handled probate faster, I can't speed up the IRS. There's a tax issue. You're lying. You're holding the money because you've always been jealous. Amanda laughed. Sharp. Painful. He tried to kill his brother, and he's making it about jealousy. Tyler's face twisted. I didn't try to kill him. I just needed him gone. It would have been quick. My mother was crying now. Tyler, please stop. Why? He was yelling, pacing. Everyone's acting like I'm the bad guy. I needed help and nobody would help me. You never asked, I said. You almost killed your own children, Amanda said. Our boys ate that poison because of you. Tyler stopped, looked at her. That was his fault. He gave them away. Amanda's phone was in her hand. Screen dark. She didn't hold the phone up like a prop. She just kept it low, recording everything. Tyler saw it, lunged forward. Are you recording me? Amanda pulled back. Tyler grabbed for her wrist. I stepped between them. Fast, blocked his arm. Don't touch her! Tyler shoved me. Hard. I stumbled back 1 step. That was enough. I pushed him back. 1 controlled shove, pointed at the chair. Sit down. Don't move. My mother screamed. Caleb, let him go. Call the police, I told Amanda. Tell them he just tried to assault you. He didn't, my mother started. She recorded everything, I said, not looking away from Tyler. Every word, every move. Keep talking, Mom. Amanda was already dialing. Detective Palmer? It's Amanda Hayes. My husband just confessed to poisoning the chocolates. I recorded it. He tried to grab my phone. We're at his mother's house. Tyler was still pinned, breathing hard. You're going to regret this. I don't touch you, I said quietly. I bury you with evidence. Police arrived 8 minutes later. Palmer walked in with 3 uniforms. Mr. Hayes, Palmer said to Tyler, stand up, hands behind your back. For what? My mother demanded. Attempted murder, child endangerment, possession of poison, assault. Tyler stood slow. Let them cuff him. Stared at me. This is your fault. No, I said. This is yours. They walked him out. My mother was screaming at Palmer. Ma'am, your son confessed to multiple felonies. We have recordings. He's going to jail. She turned on Amanda. This is your fault. You trapped him. He trapped himself, Amanda said. And I'm filing for divorce. Monday. You'll never see my boys again. My mother's face crumbled. You can't do that. I'm their grandmother. You enabled a man who poisoned children. Watch me. We left. Amanda rode with me. Rachel texted that both girls were awake. Halfway there, Amanda spoke. I knew. Deep down, I knew he was lying about everything. I just didn't want to believe it. None of this is on you. Your mom knew too. She's always known. And she chose him anyway. I parked at the hospital. We walked in together. Rachel was awake in Sophie's room. Looked at me. Is he arrested? Yeah? Good. The next morning, I made 3 calls before 7. First, locksmith. Every lock changed today. Front, back, side, garage. Deadbolts on everything. I'll pay double for immediate service. Guy arrived by 8. Second, security company. Doorbell camera, driveway camera, backyard sensors. Same-day installation cost extra. Worth it. Third, Sophie's school. Principal Andrews. This is Caleb Hayes. Sophie's in 2nd grade. My brother was arrested yesterday for attempted murder. He and my mother, Patricia Hayes, have 0 authorization to access or contact my daughters. If either appears on campus, call police immediately. Mr. Hayes, this is serious. I know. I'm emailing police reports and restraining orders now. I need written confirmation both names are flagged. We'll handle it immediately. I made the same call to Leah's school than every other place that had my daughter's names on file. Daycare, pediatrician, dentist, gymnastics. Every place got the same message. Tyler Hayes and Patricia Hayes were not authorized. If they showed up, call police immediately. Rachel handled the hospital and insurance. Added notes to every file. No information released to Tyler Hayes or Patricia Hayes. That afternoon, we sat the girls down. We have a new family word, I told them. It's like a secret code. If anyone you don't know tries to talk to you, you say red balloon to the nearest adult. Can you remember that? Red balloon, Leah repeated. Serious face. Red balloon, Sophie echoed. Good. And if Uncle Tyler or Grandma shows up anywhere, school, park, anywhere, you run to a teacher and say red balloon. They'll help you. Understand? Both nodded. Why can't we see Grandma? Sophie asked. Rachel handled this one. Because Grandma's helping Uncle Tyler even though he hurt people. Until she stops, she can't be around you. Is Uncle Tyler in jail? Leah asked. Yes. Good, Leah said. He scared me at the party. The first test came Tuesday. Dismissal time at Sophie's school. My mother showed up, told Mrs. Peterson she was there to pick up her granddaughter. Mrs. Peterson checked the list. My mother's name was flagged red. Big letters. Not authorized. Contact police if present. Mrs. Peterson stepped into the hallway. Called me. I was up a turbine 40 minutes away. Mr. Hayes, your mother is here attempting to pick up Sophie. We've denied access. She's becoming agitated. Don't let Sophie anywhere near her. I'm calling police now. I hung up, dialed 911, gave them the school address, mentioned the restraining order. By the time I reached the school, my mother had been removed. Trespass warning issued. Banned from school property. Sophie was crying in the principal's office. Rachel was there. Why was Grandma yelling? Sophie asked. Because she's upset, Rachel said. But she's not allowed to pick you up. You're safe. We updated every document, custody papers, emergency contacts, medical forms, school lists. All specifically excluded Tyler and my mother by name. 3 days later, Tyler made bail. $50,000. My mother mortgaged her house. He was out wearing an ankle monitor, court order to stay away from everyone. My mother called Rachel's phone. Tyler wants you to know he never meant to hurt the children. He needs to apologize to Caleb. Rachel's response, tell Tyler to write his apology on the back of his prison intake form. He'll be filling one out permanently soon. She hung up, blocked the number, blocked the... My mother showed up at my work the following week. Gate security called. She's not authorized. Escort her off property. She refused. Started yelling. Site supervisor Joel, 60-year-old former Marine, handled it. Ma'am, you need to leave. Now, or I'm calling cops. She left, but half the crew heard it. Joel pulled me aside Friday. Your mother's unhinged? You handling it? I showed him the restraining orders, police reports, Tyler's arrest. He read through it, whistled low. Your brother really tried to kill you. Yeah. And your mom's defending him? Yeah. Keep her away. Let me know if she returns. Week 3, Amanda found a note on her windshield. Block letters. Drop the charges or your boys get hurt worse next time. She photographed it, bagged it, called Palmer. Palmer told her not to touch anything and asked whether any neighbor cameras faced the parking lot. Between the camera footage, phone records, and Tyler's messages, it didn't take them long to land on Victor, loan shark associate. Tyler paid him $5,000 to scare Amanda. Victor got arrested, flipped immediately in interrogation. Tyler's still planning something, kept talking about probate, about how if Caleb wasn't around, the money would move faster. Palmer called me at 11 p.m. Your brother's planning something. We're moving to revoke bail. Next morning, Tyler's bail got revoked. Judge cited witness intimidation, flight risk. Tyler went back to county jail, sat there until trial. But my mother didn't stop, called everyone, Tyler's friends, extended family, church people, said I was lying, that Tyler was innocent, that I fabricated evidence. Some believed her. My aunt, my uncle, 2 cousins, all said, you need to forgive Tyler. He's family. I told them all the same thing. Tyler tried to murder me. If you want to support him, that's your choice. But I'm done. Family split clean down the middle. My mother tried one more time. Showed up at my house, 7 a.m. Saturday. Banged on the door. Caleb, we need to talk. I saw her on the doorbell camera. Didn't answer. Caleb, please, Tyler needs you. I called 911. My mother's trespassing. There's a restraining order. Police arrived. 2 officers. Ma'am, leave now or you'll be arrested. She finally went, yelling through the door. This isn't over, Caleb! Officers issued formal trespass warning. Next time, she would get arrested. Sophie asked through tears, why is Grandma so mad? Because she doesn't understand Uncle Tyler did something very bad, Rachel explained. She's choosing to help him instead of accept the truth. Rachel started having nightmares, woke up gasping. Tyler breaking in, poison in food, my mother taking Sophie. Amanda moved the boys twice, first to her parents' house, then to a friend's cabin outside Chattanooga, when my mother drove by 3 times in one day. I feel like I'm in witness protection, Amanda told me. The boys ask when they can go home. After trial, once Tyler's sentenced, Palmer called with updates. Prosecutors building an airtight case. Tyler's search history, chocolate purchase, arsenic order, recorded confession, witness intimidation. But his attorney's good. Robert Wu. He'll try to muddy the waters. Juries are unpredictable. 3 months before trial, I started documenting everything. Every voicemail my mother left. Every text. Every social media post claiming Tyler was innocent. Rachel did the same with Amanda's evidence. Threatening note, phone records, timeline. We were building backup, making sure Tyler never escaped. Trial date appeared, July 15th. We counted down like prisoners. 4 months, 3, 2, waiting for justice. Trial started in July. Courthouse packed. News cameras outside. Tyler's defense attorney Robert Wu led. Criminal defense specialist. My mother was paying with money she didn't have. Opening statements lasted 2 hours. Wu painted Tyler as desperate, driven to temporary insanity by gambling addiction and predatory lenders. Prosecutor Janet Walsh kept it simple. The defendant purchased chocolates, dosed them with arsenic trioxide he'd bought online through a burner account, mailed them to his brother. Forensic analysis showed the packaging had been opened and resealed. When children ate them instead, he panicked. Not because children were poisoned, because his plan failed. Whether his plan would have worked legally doesn't matter. He still tried to kill someone to get money faster. That's attempted murder. The prosecution walked through the evidence. Search history, purchase records, Tyler's burner account, my testimony about the phone call, Rachel's testimony about his panic, Amanda's testimony about the marriage and the recording. My mother testified wearing all black, crying before Wu asked his first question. Walsh destroyed her on cross. Mrs. Hayes, you testified you love both sons equally, correct? Yes. Walsh pulled out bank records. In the past year, you gave Tyler $14,000. How much did you give Caleb? My mother shifted. I don't remember exactly. 0. You gave Caleb $0. Does that sound like equal love? Tyler had more needs. Tyler lost $400,000 gambling. That's why he had needs, correct? He has a disease. Walsh showed text messages on screens. Here's a text from you to Tyler dated February 15th, 2 weeks before the poisoning. Quote, Caleb is holding your money hostage. He could release it if he wanted to. Did you send that? Yes, but... And this one, dated February 20th. Your brother has always been jealous of you. He wants to keep you struggling. Did you send that? Yes. So you actively told Tyler that Caleb was deliberately preventing him from getting his inheritance, even though that wasn't true, correct? I thought it was true. Did you verify that with anyone? A state lawyer? Probate court? No. You assumed Caleb was being malicious and fed that narrative to your other son? A son desperate for money? A son who then tried to murder his brother? Objection. Sustained. But the jury saw it. Walsh played the recording. Tyler's voice filled the courtroom. You were supposed to eat them, Caleb. Not share them. You never share birthday gifts. It's the probate. I needed the money. I owe people. Bad people. I needed him out of the way. I didn't know it wouldn't work like that. I thought if you were gone, the estate would release the money. Mom told me you were holding it back. It would have been quick. The jury's faces changed. Doubt became certainty. The defense tried manufacturing reasonable doubt. It didn't work. The evidence was too clear. Tyler bought arsenic. Tyler dosed chocolates. Tyler called panicking when people ate them. Tyler confessed on tape. Jury deliberated 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. Tyler's face didn't change. My mother screamed. Security removed her. Sentencing 2 weeks later. Judge Morrison read penalties. Attempted murder, 20 years. Child endangerment, 5 years per child, consecutive. Possession, 3 years. Witness intimidation, 4 years. Total, 37 years. Tyler would be 72 at parole. He looked at me as they took him away. Still thought it was my fault. 6 months after sentencing, probate closed. $780,000 split 2 ways. I filed paperwork myself. Because of the conviction and restitution orders, the court structured Tyler's share to go straight to his kids. Trust locked until 25. Court-ordered restitution took $40,000 for hospital bills and legal fees. Trust structure bypassed Tyler completely. Went directly to Ethan and Lucas. Tyler could never touch it, even if he got out early. The money was protected. Amanda got full custody. Tyler's visitation rights terminated. He appealed. Lost. My mother lost her house. Moved to a small apartment near Atlanta. Visited Tyler twice a month. Told anyone who would listen that I destroyed her family. Extended family split. Half understood, half didn't. Christmas cards stopped coming. 9 months after sentencing, Tyler sent letters. 1 a week, Always my fault. Always my choice. My mother started calling from blocked numbers, using other people's phones. One voicemail got through. Tyler's deteriorating. He's suicidal. If he dies in there, that's on you. Rachel deleted it. Manipulation. I know. You're not going. I'm not going. Palmer called weeks later. Your mother tried to visit you at work. Made threats. She's escalating. Tyler's final appeal got denied. She's not processing it. A month passed. Quiet. Then on a Saturday in late October, I was at the botanical gardens with Rachel and the girls when I saw her. My mother. Near the fountain. Watching us. Rachel saw her. Grabbed my arm. Caleb. I see her. We left. Moved toward the exit. She followed. Keeping distance. We reached the car. Loaded the girls. My mother was across the lot. Watching. I walked toward her. Rachel hissed. Don't! Stay with the girls. Lock the doors. I stopped 10 feet away. What do you want? To talk to my son. You're not allowed near me. Court order. We're family. We were family. You chose Tyler. He's my son. You're my son. You don't love me. You never did. Tyler was the golden child. I was the spare. She stepped closer. I stepped back. Tyler's dying in there. He needs family. He tried to murder me. He made a mistake. Stop calling it a mistake. It was attempted murder. Premeditated. He was desperate. Then ask for help. Don't mail poison. If you just released the money, I couldn't. The IRS locked it. Federal law? She was crying. Please, Caleb. Visit him once. Let him apologize. No. Please. He's your brother. He stopped being my brother when he put arsenic in chocolate. You're so cold. I'm choosing safety over sentiment. If you don't visit him, you'll regret it. I won't. Tyler's in prison for 37 years. His kids will be adults before parole. He'll never touch his inheritance. He'll never see his boys grow up. He'll die knowing he destroyed everything for money he'll never get. She was shaking. You did this. No. He destroyed himself. I made sure justice was served. I made sure my daughters were safe. That's not cruelty. That's consequence. You're heartless. I'm alive. My daughters are alive. Tyler's children are alive. That's victory. I turned. Walked back to the car. She was screaming something about forgiveness. I got in. Locked the doors. Rachel was watching me. You okay? Yeah. We drove home. Walked inside. Locked the door. The girls were watching a movie. Rachel was making dinner. Normal life. Tyler wanted money badly enough to kill for it. He got 37 years. My mother wanted her golden child badly enough to destroy her other son. She got isolation. I wanted peace badly enough to stay quiet for 35 years. I got war, and I won. Later that night, Rachel and I sat on the back porch. Stars out. Air cool. Tyler's up for parole review in 35 years, she said. I'll be 70. You gonna speak at the hearing? Yeah. Make sure they keep him locked up. Rachel leaned into me. You thinking about him? Nope. Thinking about breakfast. The girls want pancakes. They always want pancakes. Then pancakes it is. We went inside, locked the door, turned off the lights. Just us. Our family. The one we built without compromise. Cameras on, doors locked. That's the only peace I owe anyone. A year later, the fear faded into something colder and steadier. School pickup lists that never change. The girls stopped asking about grandma. And when they did, we told them the truth in kid-sized pieces. Amanda rebuilt her life from the ground up. The boys laugh easier now. Tyler's letters still show up sometimes, full of blame and excuses, but they go straight into a folder for the lawyers. He wanted a shortcut to money. He bought himself decades of concrete and steel instead. As for my mother, she made her choice. I made mine. Some nights, Rachel and I sit on the porch and listen to the quiet. Not the fragile quiet you hold your breath for. The real kind. The kind you earn. And every Saturday morning, I make pancakes. Because peace doesn't have to be poetic. Sometimes it just has to be safe. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel and help us bring you more and better stories. Thanks.